Chapter 1904. Punishment in Xiao Yunduan's estimation. The notion of the first Old Master Fan committing such a foolish act seemed improbable, regardless of his perceived foolishness. Conversely, the second Old Master Fan appeared lacking in the courage required for such a scheme. In contrast, the woman seeking a husband appeared impulsive and arrogant, heedless of the consequences of her actions. However, given the first Old Master Fan's confession, Xiao Yunduan saw no need to expose him. Ultimately, the outcome remained unchanged, and it mattered little to him. It was advantageous that the first Old Master Fan willingly assumed responsibility. As the head of the family, his culpability would only exacerbate matters. The imperative task of apprehending the mountain bandits demanded immediate attention. Xiao Yunduan swiftly arranged for personnel to capture them from the Fan family. Turning his attention back to the first Old Master Fan, Xiao Yunduan spoke gravely. Banditry is a grave offense, punishable by confiscation, exile, or execution. Even if you acknowledge your wrongdoing, death cannot be evaded. Do you confess? I confess. I plead guilty. I beseech your mercy, Lord. The first Old Master Fan's voice quivered as he bowed once more, demonstrating respect, genuine contrition, and unwavering cooperation. Xiao Yunduan exhaled deeply, relieved that the lives of the entire family were spared. All businesses registered under the Fan family name will be forfeited daily. Failure to forfeit 150,000 mu of fertile land will result in a fine of 300,000 taels of silver. The principal offender shall be imprisoned for 3 years. To avoid imprisonment, a sum of 50,000 taels of silver may be paid as penance. However, during this period, the principal offender is restricted to An's province and must conduct themselves impeccably. Any transgressions will be met with dual punishment. Xiao Yunduan's words struck the first Old Master Fan with a pang of anguish. The severity of the punishment weighed heavily on the Fan clan. Despite bracing himself for Xiao Yunduan's judgment, he hadn't anticipated such ruthlessness. Each decree felt like a deep wound. First Old Master Fan ventured cautiously. Lord, the Fan family will unquestionably heed your guidance from now on. Please have mercy. This punishment is truly euro. I cannot afford leniency in public. It would compromise my authority in the future. An's province operates under different circumstances. Even with the eradication of these bandits, lasting stability is uncertain. I consider my judgment to be lenient already. Cold sweat trickled down the first Old Master Fan's back. He dared not contest further. Hastily he nodded in agreement. Yes. Your wisdom is undeniable, Lord. My lapse in judgment euro. Given the gravity of the Fan family's transgressions, he had little ground to stand on, even with their assets on the line. Xiao Yunduan's expression twisted into a sneer. As long as you understand. He cast another meaningful glance at the first Old Master Fan, adding pointedly, remember to maintain discipline within your family. Any further indiscretion will be met with impartial punishment. He wasn't oblivious to the likelihood that the first Old Master Fan might not be the primary culprit. However, he tacitly acknowledged this while ensuring the first Old Master Fan understood that he was aware of the situation. As expected, the first Old Master Fan visibly startled, his heart skipping a beat. He nodded fervently, unable to suppress the urge to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. Xiao Yunduan summoned Zhengsang and instructed him to draft the case for the first Old Master Fan's signature. He then tasked him with leading a contingent of men to the Fan family's residence to announce the punishment and oversee the confiscation of assets. Additionally, Xiao Yunduan directed another scribe to swiftly prepare a document, making multiple copies, sealing them, and distributing them throughout the city, including at the city gate. The severity of the Fan family's offense demanded public acknowledgement and explanation, lest rumors and falsehoods spread, particularly considering the character of Old Lady Fan and Fan Ruyan. Xiao Yunduan understood the importance of clarity in such matters, and resolved to draft another document to report the incident to the magistrate, ensuring transparency and accountability. Chapter 1905. Shaken the city. It was inconceivable for An's province to forego such a substantial windfall from the Fan family, despite the financial strain experienced by the provincial government. Upon receiving the confiscated funds and goods, meticulous counting was imperative, with a portion destined for remittance to the magistrate's office. The repercussions of this affair rippled through various channels. The Fan family was plunged into despair. Old Lady Fan, upon learning of the severe punishment meted out to her family, succumbed to the shock, fainting on the spot. Panic once again gripped the Fan clan. In the midst of the chaos, Fan Ruyan's gaze bore into Jia Heming. Just as she prepared to speak out, her brother, the first Old Master Fan, who had been watching her intently, swiftly grasped her sleeve, his voice a low, urgent whisper. "What are you thinking? What do you intend to say? Consider who is truly responsible for all of this before you utter a word. Let me make it clear. Dealing with bandits warrants severe measures. The Fan family is compensating to quell the calamity. Cease this. Do not stir up further trouble. The Fan family cannot endure any more." Overwhelmed with shame, anger, and regret, Fan Ruyan covered her face, her words caught in her throat. With a choked sob, she turned on her heel and fled. Watching her retreat, the first Old Master Fan breathed a silent sigh of relief. Sealing the shops and acquiring land deeds were straightforward tasks. Yet even for a wealthy household like the Fan family, producing 300,000 taels of silver at once proved daunting. They could only withdraw 100,000 taels from their public accounts. Any more would deplete their reserves entirely. Jia Heming proposed pawning antiques and jewelry as a means to alleviate the Fan family's financial woes. However, given the punitive nature of their situation, engaging in business transactions seemed impractical. With an abundance of antiques and treasures at their disposal, securing loans or extending credit through promissory notes appeared dubious. The first Old Master Fan found himself unable to negotiate and reluctantly acquiesced to Jia Heming's suggestion. Jia Heming dispatched a bailiff to the premier pawnshop in An's prefecture city, enlisting the aid of its proprietors to assess the valuables. Each item was meticulously catalogued, appraised, and packaged into boxes before being handed over to Xiao Yunduan. Meanwhile, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe, second-in-charge Min, and the two escaped mountain bandits found themselves incarcerated in the government prison. Despite initial resistance, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe's tirades were swiftly quelled with the insertion of a cloth gag. News of the Fan family's transgressions, their repentance, and subsequent punishment reverberated throughout the city, posted on every available surface. The revelation sent shockwaves through the populace, marking the most significant event of the year. The punishment meted out to the Fan family elicited both curses and applause from the common folk. Among the various family clans, it was widely understood that the power dynamics within An's prefecture city were poised for a significant shift. With the Fan family formally ousted from one of the esteemed triumvirates, speculation ran rampant about the fate of their extensive business holdings, likely to be auctioned off by the government. Everyone eyed each other warily, eager to stake their claim in the spoils. However, it was clear that the final say rested with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Given their considerable wealth and penchant for acquiring land, particularly the dry land in the mountains, it was expected they would show interest in prime farmland and shops. Thus, the others could only bide their time, waiting for the couple to make their selections before seizing their opportunities. Many harbored feelings of despondency and remorse, lamenting their mischances. With ample resources at their disposal, acquiring additional shops and fertile land could have propelled them to greater heights. Some even harbored aspirations of usurping the Fan family's former status within a few short years. A few astute individuals, unwilling to leave their fate to chance, resorted to lavish gifts and flattery, seeking favor with Qiao Xian, hoping to curry favor and secure their positions in the shifting landscape. Chapter 1906. Split together. Qiao Xian had always been averse to accepting benefits without reciprocation, and she saw no reason to make exceptions now, especially outside of the New Year season. Despite her warm reception of visitors, she made it clear that any gifts should be returned upon departure. Moreover, she subtly hinted that if anyone had concerns or needs, they should speak openly, as she was adept at finding solutions. In An's province, the enforcement of ancient laws was more flexible, often allowing transgressions to be absolved with monetary compensation. Given the complex circumstances, It was impractical to severely punish every family with ties to the mountain bandits, as it would only sow chaos. Though some visitors hesitated to believe Qiao Xian's implicit offer, they recognized her reputation for integrity and knew better than to attempt to sway her with bribes. Certain women perceived the prefect's wife as forthright and trustworthy. Thus they confided in her about their desires. Their requests were modest. They simply sought priority access to the meat soup. Qiao Xian finally grasped the underlying motivation behind the visitors' enthusiasm, unsure whether to laugh or sigh. Despite the Fan family's forfeiture of their farms and properties, Qiao Xian had no intention of laying claim to them. How could she pass up such a lucrative opportunity to acquire them? However, she wasn't interested in obtaining them for free. Instead, she resolved to purchase them at fair market value, ensuring the government didn't incur any losses. While she could feasibly acquire all the assets and fields relinquished by the Fan family, indulging to such excess wasn't prudent. With inquiries pouring in, Qiao Xian explained her intentions without hesitation. It seemed prudent to clarify matters to dispel any misconceptions. With a smile, Qiao Xian elucidated her stance to the assembled crowd. She wasn't reserving the spoils solely for her benefit. Rather, she aimed to benefit An's province as a whole. Delighted, the attendees began to strategize, preparing to acquire the properties when the opportunity arose. Despite some lingering skepticism, Qiao Xian opted not to elaborate further, confident in her decision. Some individuals, perhaps overestimating their rapport with Qiao Xian, attempted to broach the subject of potential purchases, hoping to secure deals in advance. Qiao Xian remained unmoved by their overtures. She couldn't afford to make any promises, nor did she entertain the notion. It was clear to her that when the government organized the auction, she would rightfully have the first choice. While her husband had hinted at the legality of leveraging their position for personal gain, she intended to adhere strictly to market prices. Following her selection, other buyers would have their chance, unless they had struck clandestine deals with the government beforehand. Yet, Xiao Yinduan showed no inclination toward such arrangements. The Fan clan had paid dearly for their misdeeds. Nonetheless, Jia Hemming, the scribes, the officers, and the city's populace viewed Lord Xiao with reverence, considering him a benevolent figure, particularly in his treatment of the Fan family. The path of banditry was one fraught with irreversible consequences, leaving little room for redemption. Chapter 1907. The Fan family has completely declined even if they sought redemption by forsaking their illicit activities and embracing a lawful path. The toll they would pay was bound to be steep. Simply relinquishing more than half of their assets wouldn't absolve them of their crimes. Confiscating all of their assets would be considered a lenient punishment. In graver cases, exile was the consequence, with their descendants barred from participating in civil service examinations for 5 generations, effectively precluding their eligibility for official positions in the dynasty. Given the unique circumstances of An's province, Xiao Yunduan was not inclined to show mercy. For the Fan family, this ordeal was nothing short of a complete defeat. Among the 22 confiscated shops were prime locations that generated substantial income for the clan annually. Their loss not only deprived the Fan clan of significant sustainable wealth, but also necessitated the dismissal of shopkeepers and workers. Many of these employees had been painstakingly nurtured by the Fan family over the years. Dismissing them now would make it challenging for the Fan family to resume business operations in the future. Yet, retaining them would require a considerable financial commitment. However, few shopkeepers were willing to remain under such conditions. Staying idle would disconnect them from the industry, making it difficult to re-enter in the future. Unless the proprietor was willing to offer an irresistible sum, which the Fan clan obviously couldn't afford, the situation seemed untenable. Yet, the loss of the shops and the hefty sum of 300,000 taels of silver paled in comparison to the gravest loss: the forfeiture of 150,000 mu of prime farmland. This land was the bedrock of the Fan clan's prosperity, its very essence. With this significant loss, the Fan family ceased to be the formidable force it once was. The fertile land was highly coveted in An's province, but not everyone could afford it. The Fan clan's extensive holdings were now beyond their reach. The anguish was too much for old Lady Fan to bear, leading to her collapse. This land had been entrusted to her by her ancestors, only to slip through her fingers in the end. The first and second Old Master Fan showed little concern, delegating the task of tending to Old Lady Fan and managing the aftermath to their wives and Fan Ruyan. The immediate priority was to address the aftermath swiftly and allow the Fan family to retreat into seclusion, nursing their wounds in private. The news of the Fan family's betrayal of the mountain bandits had already spread far and wide. Despite the mountain bandits' limited access to the city, it was only a matter of time before they learned of the treachery. Their animosity towards the Fan family ran deep, and there was no telling if they would seek revenge. Now the entire Fan family yearned to pray fervently, hoping that the authorities would swiftly eradicate the Min family tribe and Liuha fort. Only by eliminating the mountain bandits could they hope for peace. In the midst of this turmoil, Fan Ruyan reproached the first Old Master Fan for his impulsiveness. What if Lord Shao lacked the means to defeat the mountain bandits? The Fan family would suffer the consequences. In hindsight, the Fan clan could have waited and assessed the situation before taking action. Perhaps they could have avoided such a catastrophic loss. The first Old Master Fan seethed with frustration, harboring a desire to reprimand his sister and dissolve the family. Though he chose not to engage in argument with the clueless Fan Ruyan, the second Old Master Fan could no longer contain his disdain. He sneered and retorted, "Why didn't you consider the consequences before blaming Elder Brother? If not for you, our family wouldn't be in this mess." Chapter 1908. Chaos. The true culprit has never been Elder Brother. Both Elder Brother and I have forgiven you, yet you still insist on blaming him. And if those nefarious individuals remain in our midst, can you guarantee they won't cause trouble? Can you assure us you can handle them? I fear you wouldn't even survive the current ordeal, let alone any future ones. Furthermore, if it weren't for the noble act of exposing our wrongdoing, our future would have been bleak indeed. We'd be doomed beyond redemption. Those mountain bandits wouldn't spare us even if they escaped. They'd cling to us like a malignant growth, tormenting our Fan family endlessly. No secret can remain hidden forever. Sooner or later, the authorities will uncover the truth. And when they do, neither the mountain bandits nor the Fan family will escape unscathed. Since you invited the danger into our home, the only path to peace and salvation for our Fan family is through repentance. Do you grasp that? Even if we face consequences from the government, at worst, we'll have to leave our hometown and abandon An's province. We still possess some assets. We won't perish, but we could lead comfortable lives. But if we continue associating with those mountain bandits and seeking their aid, they'll surely be our undoing sooner or later. And who brought all of this upon us? Yet you still have the audacity to blame Elder Brother. Fan Ruyan found herself unable to prevail against him. Frustrated and angry, she burst into tears, feeling unfairly criticized and unappreciated. She insisted that she acted in the best interests of the Fan family. As her tears flowed, she recounted how she had been mistreated by her brothers when their mother was ill. Determined to confide in her mother, Fan Ruyan's resolve wavered momentarily. However, first Old Master Fan erupted in fury, warning her sternly, "Mother is already ill. If you have any conscience left, do not upset her further. If you dare to provoke her again, I will not spare you. You can try me." Fan Ruyan trembled with anger, but ultimately relented under first Old Master Fan's stern gaze, refraining from any rash actions. The Fan family, like a timid and fearful chicken, withdrew into themselves, living in perpetual anxiety. Scribe Guan and Mrs. Guan also suffered, haunted by the fear of retaliation from the Min family tribe or Liuha fort. While Xiao Yunduan was aware of their transgressions, he chose not to address them yet, biding his time. With the evidence he possessed, Xiao Yunduan could apprehend Scribe Guan at any moment. He had kept him under surveillance, waiting to see if any bandits would come looking for him, providing an opportunity to apprehend them as well. If Scribe Guan displayed the same decisiveness as first Old Master Fan and confessed to Xiao Yunduan, he might secure a chance to evade imprisonment. However, he would still face fines and be barred from serving as a scribe, but at least he wouldn't be incarcerated. Regrettably, Scribe Guan lacked such resolve. He clung to a glimmer of hope and instructed Mrs. Guan to frequent Xiao Xian's presence, hoping to glean information. If anyone approached the mountain, he could relay the news. However, Mrs. Guan found herself unable to maintain her air of superiority. She wished to forge a friendship with Qiao Xian, foreseeing potential benefits in times of trouble. Despite their well-laid plans, Qiao Xian was uncooperative. Mrs. Guan couldn't even gain access to the back office. Chapter 1909. Terror. Qiao Xian curtly informed Mrs. Guan that she was occupied and unavailable to receive her. Mrs. Guan, accustomed to using such excuses herself, found herself on the receiving end this time. The tables had turned, and it was now Qiao Xian's turn to dismiss her. Enraged by Qiao Xian's perceived arrogance, Mrs. Guan hurled insults, accusing her of haughtiness and aloofness. Despite her frustration, Mrs. Guan continued to feign hospitality towards her fellow disciples, maintaining a facade of amiability. However, despite multiple attempts, she was unable to gain entry. Qiao Xian had no intention of meeting her at present. She aimed to exacerbate the guilt of those with troubled consciences. Mrs. Guan grew increasingly apprehensive, fearing that Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were privy to damning information. Hence Qiao Xian's refusal to entertain her. The couple deliberated behind closed doors, but failed to devise a solution. Although Scribe Guan continued to perform his duties as a scribe, he was barred from many areas and activities. Fearful of arousing suspicion, he refrained from making inquiries. Gritting his teeth, Scribe Guan realized that Lord Xiao harbored genuine suspicions against him. With no alternative, he resolved to take a gamble. That afternoon, Scribe Guan donned a disguise and slipped out of the city unnoticed. Euro, just 2 days after the Fan family received their compensation. Preparations were nearly complete. Xiao Yunduan instructed Jia Heming to seek reinforcements from General Huaishi. The swift eradication of the Tiger Head tribe had caught the bandits off guard. But now, with the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort likely joining forces, heightened vigilance was imperative. Even Hang Xingshan couldn't ascertain the adversary's true strength, having never had the opportunity to scout their stronghold. Uncertainty loomed over the presence of undisclosed trump cards. Xiao Yunduan couldn't afford to gamble. A miscalculation would lead not just to failure, but to numerous casualties. Upon hearing Xiao Yunduan's plea, Jia Heming readily pledged his support. General Huaishi, commanding a force of 20,000 men responsible for Huaishi Prefecture's security, was duty-bound to combat banditry. Were it not for the formidable nature of the An's province bandits, he would have intervened earlier. There was no reason for General Huaishi to refuse Xiao Yunduan's offer. Even if it was solely for the sake of 100,000 taels of silver, he would undoubtedly accept the mission. The meager salary provided by the imperial court hardly covered expenses for equipping the army with necessary supplies, weapons, or additional horses. Year after year he submitted memorials, yet progress felt as sluggish as a clay ox trudging through the sea. With 100,000 taels of silver at his disposal, there would be no such worries. Jia Heming wasted no time in action. 300,000 taels of silver swiftly changed hands, with 1/3 dissipating before it could even warm up. Xiao Yunduan calculated that half of the remaining 200,000 taels would be allocated to the magistrate, leaving 100,000 taels in the court's coffers. Additionally, the proceeds from the auction of the Fan family's farmland would be sufficient to reward everyone and devise a strategic plan. Oh, and there was also the matter of the Yamen owing his wife hundreds of thousands in silver. Repayment would have to be made gradually. The Min family tribe and Liuhe fort swiftly mobilized. They had little choice but to act swiftly, for caution mattered little now. With Xiao Yunduan having obliterated the Tiger Head tribe, they knew he wouldn't let them off the hook. Chapter 1910. Foreign aid. After dealing with the aftermath of destroying the Tiger Head tribe, it was inevitable that Xiao Yunduan would set his sights on them next. This had escalated into a fight to the death. There could be no resolution until one side emerged victorious. Even if they professed to forego vengeance, the prefect would never trust their words nor rest easy. In that case, why grant the wretched official ample time to prepare? Why not seize the initiative as he had done previously, catching him off guard? This time, they resolved to strike first, targeting the key figures: the prince, the king, and the monarch. They would mobilize their finest warriors and storm An's prefecture city, assaulting the prefect's office. They would exterminate the official's family, plunder the treasury, and unleash havoc upon the city. Then, before the imperial court could react, they would vanish into the mountains. They understood well that if this operation succeeded, it would send shockwaves through An's province and Huaishi prefecture, and even reverberate to the imperial court. An attack on the court's offices, the slaughter of its officials, and the plundering of its warehouses would surely compel the court to respond with military force, if only to save face. The uproar this time would surely surpass that of 10 years ago. But this dogged official was formidable. Even catching him unawares would demand a hefty toll. Such an endeavor would significantly deplete their strength. How could they then withstand the might of the imperial court's army? To evade trouble, fleeing the village was inevitable. An's province was intertwined with boundless mountains. Once they delved into the depths, no matter how many troops the imperial court dispatched, it would be akin to scattering beans into the Mountainsi Euro feudal. They were accustomed to mountain life. With their numbers, they had no need to fear the wilderness beasts and venomous creatures. In 2 or 3 years, this affair would be resolved and fade from the imperial court's memory. Then, why couldn't they return? The pitiful remnants of the Min family tribe and Liuha Fort's leaders looked worse for wear. Suppressing their anger, fear, and uneasy Euro, emotions they would never confess Euro, they suddenly cast caution aside, and resolved to fight to the death. They were a band of outlaws from the start. What did they have to fear? The sight of blood only fueled their excitement. Thus, the two factions collaborated closely, handpicking a force of 400. After 2 days of meticulous preparation, they set out from the mountains under the cover of night. Utilizing the darkness and rugged terrain to their advantage, they arrived outside An's prefecture city in the dead of night. The vanguard, clad in dark garments, approached the city gate with aggressive agility. Their eyes gleamed with wild fervor, reminiscent of wolves and tigers. They eagerly awaited the signal to storm the city, brandishing their weapons in anticipation of exacting vengeance, and sending the dogged official's family to their demise. As the agreed time arrived, a low, prearranged bird call rang out. With a creak, the city gate slowly swung open. Upon reaching a sufficient gap, the bandits roared triumphantly, wielding an array of weapons as they surged forward with murderous intent. Meanwhile, their accomplices lying in wait in the nearby forest, 2 to 3 miles away, heard the clamor and surged forth to join the fray. Chapter 1911. Final battle. To their dismay, as they surged through the city gate, they watched in horror as it began to slowly close once more. The front ranks froze, their eyes widening in disbelief as they stumbled to a halt. Behind them, the momentum of those charging forward caused a chaotic collision, nearly knocking them off their feet. Amidst the confusion, cries of pain and confusion filled the air. Before they could grasp the situation, a barrage of arrows whistled through the air like a swarm of locusts, sending the bandits into a frenzy of panic. In the blink of an eye, flames erupted from all directions, and the heavens reverberated with the thunderous clamor of approaching soldiers. Over 2,000 bailiffs and soldiers descended upon the hapless bandits with relentless ferocity, catching them off guard and sealing their fate. It was a slaughter, utterly one-sided. The mountain bandits screamed, cursed, and wailed in despair, their frantic attempts at escape resembling headless flies darting aimlessly. But there was no escape from the relentless onslaught closing in around them. The encirclement tightened, gradually closing in on the mountain bandits until none remained, including their leaders and most steadfast members. It had been ages since the soldiers had tasted such a decisive victory, and their jubilant cheers echoed across the battlefield. Meanwhile, the elite bandits who had entered the city earlier met a similar fate, swiftly dispatched by the waiting bailiffs and soldiers lying in ambush. Not a single one managed to escape. The individual who had facilitated their entry into the city wasn't Scribe Guan, who had initially colluded with them. By this time, Scribe Guan and his wife found themselves incarcerated in the prison. With the battle won, over 100 soldiers remained behind to clean up the aftermath, while the rest swiftly regrouped and set off towards Liuha Fort and Min family tribe, their resolve unwavering. Over 200 sets of clothing were stripped from the fallen bandits, quickly donned by the soldiers who adopted their guise to march at the forefront of the advancing column, their determination evident in their demeanor. Once in the mountains, They divided into two groups, each headed towards Min family tribe and Liuhe fort respectively. Jia Heming's visit to General Huaishi went smoothly, thanks to Xiao Yunduan's generous funds. Jia Heming promptly handed over 50,000 taels of silver, leaving Qin Wuyo and the other generals beaming with delight and heaping praise on Lord Xiao's generosity. They extolled his virtues, hailing him as a true exemplar, demonstrating that even a scholar could possess such courage, swiftly dealing with the bandits without hesitation. It put their own reluctance to send troops to shame. Qin Wuyo wasted no time in mobilizing his troops, leading a force of 3,000 elite soldiers as per Xiao Yunduan's instructions. They approached An's city stealthily, taking advantage of the dense forest cover that shrouded the region. Their presence remained undetected, concealed within the secluded valleys and thickets of the An's province hinterlands. Only a select few, including Xiao Yunduan, were privy to this plan. The sudden shout caught most of the bailiffs off guard. Meanwhile, as the battle raged outside An's prefecture city, the 2,000 soldiers had divided into two groups and stealthily positioned themselves near Liuhe fort and Min family tribe. They rendezvoused with the reinforcements that were rapidly approaching. With dawn breaking on the horizon, their presence was barely discernible. Chapter 1912. Extermination. At that moment, with about an hour left until clarity dawned, vigilance was at its lowest. Soldiers donning counterfeit attire and brandishing weapons easily breached the mountain stronghold's doors. As the skirmish erupted, those left behind began to realize the dire situation. However, it was already too late. With superior numbers and unwavering morale, the soldiers swiftly overwhelmed the intermediate mountain bandits, who were accustomed to preying on the weak. Having suffered consecutive setbacks and diminished strength, panic and apprehension consumed them. In the face of a formidable foe, they trembled in fear, some even losing control of their bladders, and crying out for their parents as they fled in every direction to preserve their lives. As the sun climbed higher, its rays piercing through the forest canopy, the birds began their morning rituals, chirping and soaring into the sky. The battle between the two villages came to a decisive conclusion, with the light of day illuminating the aftermath. The soldiers emerged victorious. After more than a decade, the malignant presence in An's province had been eradicated completely. Throughout the city, jubilation erupted, and word spread like wildfire. Lord Xiao's name commanded utmost respect. It was his efforts that had bestowed peace upon their lives, banishing the specter of marauding bandits. Families, particularly those with young daughters, no longer harbored the same fears. No longer did they hesitate to let their 7- or 8-year-olds venture outdoors, for the threat of abduction had been vanquished. With the dust settled, the aftermath unfolded, intricate and demanding. Each bandit, along with Scribe Guan and his cohorts, faced severe retribution, whether by the sword or by exile. None could evade justice. Fortunately, with the invaluable assistance of Jia Heming, Xiao Yunduan found a moment of respite. Reflecting on it all, Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but marvel at the competence of his deputy prefect, the governor's right-hand man. Jia Heming navigated through countless bureaucratic hurdles, freeing Xiao Yunduan to focus on matters of greater import. Without him, even a moment's reprieve would have been a luxury beyond reach. Indeed, not only Xiao Yunduan but also the other scribes gaped in astonishment. How had they not realized the extent of Jia Heming's abilities? It seemed that Jia Heming had been hiding his capabilities all along. Xiao Yunduan lacked prior experience as a prefect, and thus had no basis for comparison with other deputy prefects, excluding the extreme case of deputy prefect Guan. He knew Jia Heming to be competent, but the revelation of his true abilities left him awestruck. Jia Heming's capabilities far surpassed those of an average individual. In essence, he was the equivalent of 5 ordinary deputy prefects combined. Previously, some had harbored doubts regarding Jia Heming's appointment as deputy prefect. Yet, witnessing his actions dispelled any lingering skepticism. They couldn't help but admire Lord Xiao's discernment in selecting personnel. As everything settled, October came to an end and November began. An's province finally experienced tranquility. Xiao Yunduan initiated discussions about rewards and a celebratory feast. People felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. After toiling tirelessly for so long, It was finally time to unwind and revel in the moment. The banquet unfolded at the state office, with the two prominent restaurants in the city fully booked. A plethora of delectable dishes and beverages flowed continuously. Xiao Yunduan led hundreds of government officials in merry revelry, indulging from noon until late into the night. Meanwhile, Xiao Xian arranged a separate banquet in the back garden, extending invitations to all the officials' wives. Both inside and outside, the atmosphere brimmed with jubilation. Chapter 1913. Managing aftermath. Everyone exuded energy and excitement, their hearts aglow with warmth and confidence. With Lord Xiao, the prefect, at their side, worries about the future dissipated. They knew they had made the right choice in following him. A promising future lay ahead, infusing everyone with vitality as they embarked on what promised to be a splendid day. Gone were the days of confusion and aimlessness. With each toast raised in honor of Lord Xiao, admiration swelled as it became evident that he remained sober despite the revelry. His remarkable tolerance for alcohol only served to deepen the respect everyone held for him. Lord Xiao's prowess, evident in his defeat of the mountain bandits, elevated him to the status of idol among countless bailiffs and constables. The following day, Xiao Yunduan unveiled the reward list he had collaborated on with Jia Heming and others, ensuring that everyone received their due recognition. Even the most ordinary of bailiffs received a reward of 10 taels of silver each, while Jia Heming, Hang Xingshan, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Zheng Sang, and others were granted the highest amount euro 500 taels each. Various increments of 200, 150, and 20 taels were distributed among the remaining recipients. The rewards were deemed exceptionally fair and just, leaving no room for dissatisfaction. Each recipient eagerly lined up to claim their silver reward, their faces illuminated with joy. Xiao Xian, in a gesture of goodwill, also distributed rewards to those at the back of the court, though modest in comparison, simply to share in the joy and excitement. Jia Heming and his wife were overwhelmed with happiness and gratitude. When Jia Heming returned home bearing a bounty of banknotes, Mrs. Jia could scarcely believe her eyes, her smile uncontainable. Anticipating a more modest reward, Mrs. Jia had already envisioned how to allocate 10, 20 or 30 taels. However, receiving 500 taels of silver left her at a loss for how to manage such unexpected wealth. Both Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao, known for their benevolence, refused any compensation for their efforts. Their altruism only strengthened the resolve of Jia Heming and his wife to stand by them, assured that following their lead would only enrich their lives further. Following the rewards, the assets of the Fan family and the spoils obtained from the 3 villages commenced auction proceedings. The mountain bandits lived a rugged existence, showing little regard for conventions. They eschewed productive endeavors, relying instead on coercion to obtain what they needed from affluent families. Failure to comply meant their goods would be forcibly taken. Consequently, their stockpile atop the mountain was meager. Moreover, during the breach of their stronghold, opportunistic allies pilfered some of the remaining wealth, further depleting their resources. The spoils, including gold, silver, food, and weaponry, were primarily sourced from the national treasury. Only a scant selection of jewelry, fabric, and a few ornamental items were available for auction. Additionally, a handful of houses clandestinely acquired at the mountain's base were put up for sale, though their association with the bandits rendered them undesirable to wealthier buyers. Ultimately, these items fetched relatively low prices. Jia Heming, unencumbered by such concerns, purchased a 3-acre courtyard situated in a somewhat secluded area within An's prefecture's intermediate city, for a mere 100 taels of silver. Xiao Xian, mindful of her status as the prefect's wife, refrained from making a purchase, despite the attractive prices. Nevertheless, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of regret at passing up such a bargain. Even the residence of Scribe Guan found its way to the auction block. Chapter 1914. Purchase. Following this, all eyes turned to the Fan clan as their assets were up for grabs. Without hesitation, Xiao Xian stepped forward to make her selection. Despite her position, Xiao Xian demonstrated modesty in her requests. She opted for 60,000 mu of fertile land and 5 ordinary yet promising shops, all at fair market prices. Given An's province's scarcity of arable land, particularly fertile plots. Prices exceeded those of neighboring regions. Qiao Xian selected prime parcels priced at 10 taels of silver per mu, totaling 60,000 taels of silver. Additionally, the 5 shops amounted to another 6,000 taels. However, considering the government's outstanding debt of 500,000 taels to Qiao Xian, she opted to offset the purchase with this owed sum, without needing to expend a single tael of her own. Even after deducting the 66,000 taels for her purchases, the government still remained indebted to her by over 400,000 taels. Xiao Yunduan took responsibility for reimbursing this remainder, leaving him indebted to her for 400,000 taels. These transactions were conducted transparently, with both the government office and local populace acknowledging the legitimacy of the arrangement. Despite acquiring substantial assets from the Fan clan, Qiao Xian's generosity was evident as she chose to share her newfound wealth with the community. In addition to the land and shops, numerous rare antiques from the Fan clan were also put up for auction. The esteemed families eligible for participation in the auction had already convened in private to strategize, fostering a congenial atmosphere throughout the proceedings. As a result, nearly everyone secured their desired acquisitions, leaving them thoroughly content. With this milestone, the entirety of An's prefecture city finally achieved a state of complete safety. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao Yunduan took a well-deserved 3-day respite to accompany Qiao Xian and Anan on a journey outside the city. The trio explored their own farms, trekked through the mountains, and reveled in the breathtaking scenery, joined by Yi and Sun Bai. However, despite the break, exhaustion still lingered among the group, denying them proper rest. Sun Bai, Sun Qian and Zheng Sang, sensing a need for additional manpower, conferred with Hang Xingshan, a local resident, and brought their concerns to Xiao Yunduan. Together, they issued a notice to recruit officers meeting specific criteria, aiming to bolster their ranks by approximately 50 individuals. Their collective resolve was clear. Alongside the current bailiffs, rigorous training was imperative. In An's province, the specter of banditry persisted, exacerbated by the region's strategic location. Should fugitives seek refuge here in the future, a robust force would be required to apprehend them. The necessity for ample manpower was evident. Reviewing the accounts, Xiao Yunduan felt confident in shouldering the responsibility, and thus gave his approval. It was common knowledge that positions within the government office were highly sought after, with young and capable individuals eagerly vying for selection. The atmosphere in An's province city became vibrant and bustling as a result. While new recruits were being chosen, the existing bailiffs remained active. Despite the successful dismantling of the Min family tribe, Liuhe Fort and Tiger Head tribe, Xiao Yunduan recognized that more needed to be done. He issued orders for a thorough search of the 3 villages, commanding the destruction of all structures, including basements, sentry posts, fortresses and passes, ideally reducing them to rubble. In essence, the objective was the complete eradication of these 3 locations. The prospect of any resurgence in the future was utterly eliminated. Xiao Xian's curiosity got the better of her, prompting her persistent requests for Xiao Yunduan's approval to join the expedition. Initially resistant, Xiao Yunduan dismissed her requests, labeling them as mere whims. After all, what allure could a mountain bandit village possibly hold? He chided his increasingly obstinate wife. However, his resistance proved short-lived. Within a mere 2 days, Xiao Yunduan relented, swayed by Qiao Xian's gentle persuasion. Chapter 1915. Going to Liuhe Fort, Xiao Yunduan found himself swayed when Qiao Xian appeared in her light riding outfit, a realization dawning upon him. From then on, he knew that resisting his wife's requests would be futile. Ultimately, he resolved to indulge her desires, though not without attempting to negotiate for better terms. After all, bargaining often yielded unexpected benefits. In the end, everyone was content, and Xiao Yunduan found joy in his wife's happiness. As for Anan, despite his lively demeanor, he was still too young to accompany them on their mountain excursion. Qiao Xian entrusted the care of their son to the nanny, Kaiyun, and Kaiming before departing the city with Xiao Yunduan and their companions. Disguised and traveling by carriage until they reached impassable terrain, the group was prepared to proceed on foot when necessary. They were en route to Liuhe Fort, situated a considerable distance from An's prefecture city. Setting off at dawn, they traveled swiftly in light carriages, covering the distance in a mere 4 hours. Disembarking from the carriages, they proceeded on foot for over half an hour, arriving at Lioha Fort around noon. Of the 3 strongholds, Lioha Fort was the closest to An's prefecture city, with the other 2 being more remote. Upon their arrival, the fort bustled with various demolition activities. Spotting Lord Xiao, the workers paused their tasks to greet him, only to be encouraged by Xiao Yunduan to continue their efforts. Xiao Xian, brimming with curiosity, felt invigorated rather than fatigued. She accepted the water offered by Xiao Yunduan and, tugging at his sleeve, suggested, "Husband, let's explore together. This place seems vast and flat." Xiao Yunduan, unable to resist his wife's enthusiasm, smiled helplessly. "Since you're so keen, let's take a stroll." Over the years, Lioha Fort had expanded significantly, occupying extensive flat terrain. Recognizing the impracticality of relying solely on mountain-foraged resources, the bandits had cultivated vegetable gardens. A valley lay at the foot of the front mountain, while a wide stream ran behind it. In the distance, a picturesque white waterfall caught their gaze. Gazing into the distance, Xiao Xian marveled at the lush green mountains and winding rivers, captivated by the picturesque scenery. What intrigued her most was the mountainous terrain, characterized by steep peaks and vast valleys at their feet. An ideal landscape for expansion. Despite the current inconvenience of transportation, Xiao Xian saw potential in repairing the roads. While the mountain paths were challenging to traverse, the proximity to the nearby village suggested that with improved infrastructure, travel time could be significantly reduced. Inspired by her surroundings, Xiao Xian activated her superpower, surveying the area with satisfaction. Aware that their time was limited, they departed after a brief half-hour stay, returning to the village and boarding the waiting carriage back to the city. As they journeyed home, Xiao Yunduan embraced Xiao Xian, planting a kiss on her cheek and inquiring, "Are you tired?" Xiao Xian shook her head, a smile gracing her lips. "The scenery is splendid, I truly enjoy being here." Xiao Yunduan chuckled. "Now that things have settled down, how about we go hunting in the mountains together?" Chapter 1916. Taking a fancy really? Of course. That is great. Xiao Xian's eyes sparkled. You know what I like the most. Longing to explore the forests of An's province for potential resources and treasures had been a persistent desire for Xiao Xian. However, the presence of bandits had stifled any chance of realizing this dream, leaving her to merely fantasize about it. Now, as the opportunity to fulfill her aspirations approached, joy filled her heart. With the sky darkening early, they hastened their journey, returning to An's prefecture city under the cover of night. Their bodies ached, weary from the arduous trek. The challenging terrain necessitated a swift pace. Lingering on the road held the uncertainty of when they might safely return. Alighting from the wagon, Xiao Xian sighed in relief, her waist sore from the journey. The urgent need for road repairs was evident. The maids breathed a collective sigh of relief upon seeing their return, while Anan, eager for his mother's embrace, reached out from the nanny's arms. Xiao Xian, consumed with thoughts of her son throughout the day, disregarded her fatigue as she gathered Anan into her arms, showering him with kisses and affectionate rubs. His laughter filled the air as he blinked his big, beautiful eyes and babbled contentedly. The nanny smiled warmly and remarked, "Indeed, young master has been eagerly searching for you all day." The maidservants nodded in agreement, recalling the commotion caused by Anan's longing for his mother throughout the day. Xiao Xian chuckled, understanding the reason behind the nanny's earlier gleaming eyes. It was undoubtedly due to her beloved son. Xiao Yunduan gently took Anan from Xiao Xian's arms, offering to carry him himself. However, Anan adamantly refused, clinging tightly to his mother's neck and shaking his head vigorously. It was a scene that elicited laughter from everyone present. Xiao Xian with a smile insisted, "He's still so young, let me hold him." Xiao Yunduan laughed along, shaking his head in amusement before leading his wife and son into the house. The family spent some quality time together, playing until Anan eventually drifted off to sleep after nursing. With his eyes closed, his delicate features appeared even more pronounced, peacefully highlighting his exhaustion from the day's travels. The nanny carefully escorted Anan away, leaving Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan to dine together. During dinner, Qiao Xian shared her plans for Liuhe Fort with Xiao Yunduan. The fertile surroundings presented ample opportunities for development. She proposed constructing a villa in place of the former fort, effectively eradicating any remnants of the bandits. Reflecting on the terrain around Liuhe Fort, Xiao Yunduan smiled and nodded in agreement. If that's what you desire, then it's settled. It's better than leaving it unused. Deal. Qiao Xian exclaimed joyfully. It's an opportunity for farming, and we're all free. I can hire additional help to increase our family's income. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but feel a warmth in his heart. With a smile he affirmed, "Wife, go ahead and make the arrangements." Chapter 1917. Planning to farm. Qiao Xian's enthusiasm was palpable. With the eradication of the bandits, she now had the freedom to pursue her interests across the vast expanse of An's province. After a night of intimacy, Qiao Xian radiated with energy the next day. She gathered Songshi, Lu Fu, Mianmian, and others to discuss their plans. With ample funds available for hiring labor, and with Songshi and the others possessing experience in managing wasteland, the previously neglected mountains were ready to be reclaimed. Songshi, in particular, was invigorated by the prospect of a new endeavor. Mianmian and Lu Fu shared in her excitement, eager to embark on this venture. Qiao Xian's preliminary plan involved dedicating much of the land in Liuhe Fort to cultivating various herbs. After assessing the area, she identified suitable spots for planting Gastrodia elata, false starworts, King Solomon's seal, tianqi, dangui, and white needle. Additionally, scattered fruit trees were to be planted throughout the medicinal herb fields, providing not only fruits but also shade. Furthermore, plans were made for a chicken farm within the mountain forest and Liuhe Fort. To maintain hygiene, the chicken farm would undergo a yearly rotation. 1 year for raising chickens, followed by a year of rest, during which the chickens would be relocated to a different site. This rotation ensured cleanliness and minimized the risk of disease outbreaks, a particularly crucial consideration given the potential for bacteria buildup in the chicken farm over time. Fortunately, the expansive mountain provided ample space to address these concerns. During this era, dealing with a chicken plague meant witnessing the chickens succumb one by one, with no effective solution in sight. Qiao Xian acknowledged her limited knowledge on the matter, but understood the necessity of maintaining cleanliness and hygiene. She knew that providing clean food and water, along with ensuring spacious and clean living quarters for the chickens, were crucial. Additionally, during hot weather, she planned to use wormwood to smoke and disinfect the surroundings, while also providing herbal-infused water for the chickens to drink. Although she had heard of indigenous methods, such as using cactus to prevent chicken plague, she intended to explore this further and locate cactus plants for experimentation. Adjacent to the valley, a stream provided an ideal location for raising ducks. They dug several wide ponds along the stream, and created numerous ditches with twists and turns. Water plants were planted, and ducks were introduced, with the area divided into sections for rotation. This ensured that the water source remained intact and allowed for adequate recovery time. If possible, he could even make a medium-sized pond to plant lotus roots and raise fish. Just thinking about it was beautiful. At Liuhe Fort, plans were underway to construct a villa, with additional villas slated for construction at the mountain's base. The decision stemmed from the challenging mountain terrain, particularly the arduous path leading to the summit. Building solely on the mountain would necessitate transporting various supplies, such as warehouses and farm tools, up and down, posing logistical challenges. Therefore, establishing villas at the mountain's foothills would streamline operations and facilitate easier access for province-wide activities. However, the foremost priority remained road repair. During their exploration, efforts would be directed towards road construction. While not optimal, a passable road would enable carriages to traverse in opposite directions, enhancing transport efficiency. In the future, relying solely on manpower for transportation would prove inefficient, necessitating the use of carriages to ferry goods into the mountains. Chapter 1918. Opening the road. Originally, there existed a path into the mountains, but certain areas featured steep slopes, rendering carriage travel inconvenient. Consequently, the route required detours and modifications. Xiao Xian's description left Songsher and the others visibly envious, eagerly anticipating exploring the promising location. Just hearing your description fills me with anticipation. It must be an extraordinary place, remarked one. Absolutely. Let's thoroughly assess it and swiftly devise a plan, chimed in another. I can already envision the beauty it will possess with Madame's guidance. Our Madame truly possesses remarkable insight. A euro with a chuckle, Xiao Xian cautioned. Proceed with caution and pay attention to the finer details. This undertaking is significant, particularly regarding road construction. We must meticulously select the most suitable route. Agreeing, Songsher and the others descended to deliberate further. A week later, they commenced recruitment efforts. Wasteland reclamation, house construction, and road development became the focus of their endeavors. Lu Fu, Songsher, and Yang Mu assumed leadership roles, while Mianmian oversaw financial matters and procurement of materials. Acquiring such a vast expanse entailed substantial expenditure. The entirety of Liuhe Fort's mountain, along with the vast surrounding areas encompassing the foothills, forest and adjacent valley, totaled more than 100,000 mu in size. Although the hill may not have appeared particularly large, it was far from small. Xiao Xian envisioned another ambitious undertaking. Even if a single mu of wasteland was valued at just 3 taels of silver, the total cost would amount to 300,000 taels of silver. Yet the government owed Xiao Xian only 100,000 taels of silver. Contemplating the pace at which she would need to cover the expenses, Xiao Xian realized it would likely take several years to complete the payment. The staggering sum of 300,000 taels left everyone speechless. Questions arose regarding the wealth of their Lord Prefect. How much money did he possess to afford such endeavors for his wife? As for Madame, she displayed little interest in extravagant flowers or jewelry, but possessed a keen passion for exploration and agriculture. Investing tens or even hundreds of thousands was not uncommon. Even esteemed families like the Hua and Mei clans would hesitate to spend such amounts. Moreover, the 300,000 taels were solely allocated for land acquisition. The prospect of land reclamation and road repair only added to the significant expenses ahead. Although the government was expected to subsidize road construction for the benefit of all, Xiao Xian believed it unnecessary. As the prefect's wife, Xiao Yinduan was cautious about being perceived as taking undue advantage, mindful of potential gossip. However, Xiao Xian was willing and able to fund the project herself. She was transparent about her intentions, openly discussing plans to cultivate herbs, establish a chicken farm on the mountain, and raise ducks in the valley once the land was opened. Initially modest in scale, the endeavor aimed to accommodate around 5,000 to 6,000 chickens and ducks. Xiao Xian invited anyone interested in planting medicinal herbs or raising poultry on a small scale to seek guidance and assistance from her. Furthermore, she offered to purchase medicinal herbs and accept any surplus chickens and ducks for sale, provided they met quality standards. In Xiao Xian's view, pursuing agricultural endeavors such as growing herbs, mushrooms, and other high-value crops offered commoners a path to prosperity superior to traditional farming. Chapter 1919. Understanding person. However, Xiao Xian made it clear that participation was entirely voluntary. Despite her position as the prefect's wife and Xiao Yunduan's status as the prefect, they refrained from coercing civilians into joining her endeavors. While she initially anticipated skepticism from many, she knew that once a few families experienced success, others would likely follow suit. With An's province secured, Xiao Yinduan sent letters to both his family and Yuezheng Xiao. Yuezheng Xiao intended to extend his congratulations, but was preoccupied with year-end matters and couldn't make it. Meanwhile, Zhao Shu returned to Shouting Village. With no elders in his family to answer to, he could stay in Shouting Village for as long as he pleased. Though engaged to Tao Tao, staying in her house was now deemed inappropriate. Instead, arrangements were made for him to stay with the land officer's family at night. Recognizing the potential for gossip and the importance of safeguarding Tao Tao's reputation, it was decided that they would not reside together under the same roof, despite their innocence. There was no need for explanation. Zhao Shu's arrangement to reside in the land officer's house proved highly convenient, and spared him from potential trouble. The land officer's family, esteemed and respected in the community, readily welcomed Zhao Shu into their home. Delighted by the unexpected good fortune, they treated him with warmth and hospitality, assigning him the best room in the house. Grateful for their hospitality, Zhao Shu took it upon himself to refurbish his living quarters, investing in new furniture, and even enhancing the courtyard with flat green bricks to alleviate mud issues during rainy weather. Not stopping there, he also upgraded the house's interior, replacing old curtains and rejuvenating the overall appearance. With his generosity extending beyond mere lodging, Zhao Shu frequently treated the land officer's family to various delicacies, further solidifying their bond and earning their admiration. His gracious demeanor, combined with his wealth and humility, endeared him even more to the land officer's family. They considered themselves fortunate to host such a noble and benevolent young master, remarking on Cao Cao's good fortune. However, as news of Zhao Shu's generosity reached the ears of other family members, discontent began to brew among the second and third sections of the Xiao family. The third branch, particularly, felt that Zhao Shu should stay with them instead. After all, their Lulang was a scholar, knowledgeable and capable of engaging Zhao Shu in meaningful conversations. Moreover, they emphasized their familial connection, expecting him to choose their household over the land officers. However, Ms. Fang, Zhao Shu's mother-in-law, dismissed their suggestion, expressing concern about potential gossip if Zhao Shu were to move in before marriage. She pointed out that their grandson, Xiaozhi, was still unmarried, and having Zhao Shu reside with them could lead to unwarranted rumors. Ms. Ma, from the third branch, was incensed by Ms. Fang's response. Meanwhile, the second section of the family distanced themselves from the situation, showing little interest or concern. As for the land officer's family, while they had no unmarried daughters, the wife and eldest daughter-in-law's relatives seemed eager to send a girl to stay with them, likely with matchmaking intentions in mind. Chapter 1920. Received the letter. Of course, they didn't dare to openly compete with Cao Cao or scheme against her. But what if Zhao Shu developed feelings for one of their daughters? Even if she became a concubine, the Zhao family's wealth and Zhao Shu's character would ensure she didn't lose out. After all, what wealthy family didn't have multiple wives and concubines? Cao Cao shouldn't be so narrow-minded, right? A village girl could become her right-hand woman, and they could amass a fortune together. It had to be better than marrying into other families, right? Although these thoughts crossed their minds, they knew better than to directly challenge Cao Cao. Xiao Wulong was a prominent official. It would be foolish to provoke his family. Luckily, the land officer and his wife were level-headed and promptly rejected their relatives' proposals. They made it clear that no one was welcome to visit, especially with matchmaking intentions. Since Zhao Shu had already arrived as a guest, they couldn't outright refuse him. But his intentions were dubious from the start. Knowing they could rely on the land officer's family, Ms. Fang sought their assistance. When Xiao Yunduan's letter arrived, Zhao Shu was still in the village, planning to stay for the New Year celebrations. He intended to accompany Xiao Sanlang and others to the province to purchase New Year's goods, adding to the festive atmosphere. When Xiao Yunduan's letter arrived, his family members were all displeased. Since Xiao Yunduan hadn't mentioned the mountain bandits in An's province to his family, he didn't disclose the content of the letter. Instead, he simply informed them that he, Xiao Xian, and their son were doing well. They had settled comfortably in An's province, where everything was running smoothly. With spring approaching, he suggested they visit, perhaps coordinating with Yuezheng Xiao for a joint trip. Upon reading this, Zhao Shu inferred that the issue with the mountain bandits had been resolved. Otherwise, Xiao Yunduan wouldn't have extended the invitation. Though somewhat surprised, Zhao Shu wasn't overly so. He wasn't privy to the intricacies of bureaucracy, and only knew of An's prefecture's bandits from hearsay. Some claimed they were formidable, even fearsome, but Zhao Shu hadn't experienced it firsthand. For him, hearing of the bandits' demise only deepened his admiration for Xiao Yunduan. To Zhao Shu, his brother-in-law was nothing short of extraordinary, an exceptional figure, akin to the once-in-lifetime appearance of a primus. How clever and cunning! It seemed only natural for him to succeed in quelling the bandits. If Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were aware of his thoughts, they would likely just say, As long as you're happy. Upon hearing that their son and daughter-in-law had settled in the government and could soon visit, Ms. Fong and eldest uncle were overjoyed. Xiao Sanlang, Tao Tao, and the others were equally thrilled. They proudly shared the news in the village and made plans to visit at the onset of spring. With the weather turning colder, they could prepare more cured meats, sausages, dried vegetables, and the like to bring along. After all, fifth sister-in-law enjoyed these delicacies. Xiao Sanlang made it a point to visit the third branch and boast to Xiao Lulang deliberately. Xiao Lulang had warned about the bandits in An's province, claiming it wasn't safe. He even persuaded their father to urge fifth brother to resign. How deceitful. But look now, fifth brother had already invited their family to visit. If it wasn't safe, would fifth brother risk his family's safety? Chapter 1921. Wanting to go to An's province. Xiao Lulang's response puzzled Xiao Sanlang, but he paid it no mind. After all, his fifth brother was a trustworthy individual. Unbeknownst to Xiao Lulang, Xiao Yunduan had already eradicated all the bandits in the region. In ancient times, news traveled slowly, and even with interconnected regions, information dissemination was sluggish. Xiao Lulang presumed that Xiao Yunduan was merely boasting, attempting to inflate his own importance by inviting his family. He couldn't fathom the rationale behind such a decision. An's province was perilous, and if the first branch of the family ventured there only to be robbed or kidnapped by bandits, it would be too late for regrets. Vanity, he believed, was a dangerous trait. But if Xiao Yunduan insisted on such actions, then let him face the consequences, Xiao Lulang thought to himself. Although he refrained from offering advice, Xiao Lulang did voice his concerns to his parents. His third uncle and Madame Ma were both garrulous individuals, and they placed great trust in their son's judgment. Naturally, they believed his words to be true. Consequently, gossip began to circulate throughout the village, taking on various forms after undergoing deliberate or unintentional embellishment. Ms. Fong became so exasperated that she resorted to scolding the couple once more. Observing this, Zhao Shu chimed in with a suggestion. These people are ignorant and spreading baseless rumors. Why don't we take a trip to An's province ourselves and return safely? The journey isn't far, and we can travel leisurely. It shouldn't take more than half a month round trip. What do you say? Fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law must miss us very much too. If we go now, we can give them a surprise. Zhao Shu's suggestion resonated deeply with the first branch of the Xiao family. Xiao Sanlang, in particular, had frequented the provincial city numerous times over the past 2 years due to his involvement in various industries. His interactions with outsiders had broadened his horizons, leaving him eager to explore An's province. After all, it was where his brother held an official position. Enthusiastically, he embraced Zhao Shu's idea and expressed his wholehearted agreement. Tao Tao shared his sentiment. She longed to reunite with her fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law. Ms. Fong harbored a similar desire, yearning to meet her grandson whom she had never seen before. Despite her numerous children and grandchildren, there was a special place in her heart for her son's offspring. However, given the time of year, Ms. Fong was hesitant to embark on such a lengthy journey. She decided to postpone her travels until later, planning to extend her stay in An's province for a few more days before returning in December. With the year drawing to a close, the bustling atmosphere at home was further heightened by the arrival of numerous New Year's gifts and well-wishers. As preparations for the upcoming festivities commenced, there was much to be done. In the absence of Qiao Xian, who was adept at managing such affairs, Miss Su proved ill-suited for the task, and Yang Xiani's naivety and love for food only exacerbated the situation. Ms. Fong, recognizing the need for someone capable to represent the family, enlisted Zhao Shu to accompany Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni on a trip to An's province to visit Anan on behalf of the family. They would also bring gifts for the occasion, although they had yet to prepare the cured meat. However, they reasoned that it could be brought over after the new year. Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni were elated at the prospect of the journey, anticipating the culinary delights that awaited them in An's province. With the convenience of traveling in a wagon accompanied by their servants, they looked forward to indulging in the local delicacies unavailable back home. Chapter 1922. Departure. As for Tao Tao, Ms. Fong did not let her go. She and Zhao Shu were not married yet. How could she go? Ms. Fong placed her trust in her daughter and son, as well as in Zhao Shu's judgment. However, she was aware that others might not share the same confidence. In their village, Zhao Shu and Tao Tao could move about freely during the day, with people often accompanying them as they went about their activities. Occasionally, they would steal moments alone together, but as long as they were discreet, it went unnoticed. Their engagement provided a level of social acceptance for their interactions. However, venturing far from home presented a different scenario. It was natural for others to question the innocence of their relationship. Despite their engagement, any perceived impropriety could tarnish Tao Tao's reputation, with potential consequences for her social standing and marital prospects. Ms. Fong delicately conveyed her concerns to Tao Tao, who blushed with embarrassment and apprehension. She understood the implications and felt ashamed of the potential repercussions. Thankfully, Tao Tao had a wise and understanding mother, who helped her navigate this delicate situation without causing any undue trouble. Without the guidance and influence of a wise and caring mother like Ms. Fong, Tao Tao might struggle to navigate such delicate situations successfully. This was precisely why affluent families were often hesitant to marry off concubines' daughters. Few legitimate wives could impart the same level of guidance and care to their concubines' daughters as they did to their biological children. As for the concubine's daughter, her upbringing and demeanor were often subject to speculation. While it was possible for a concubine's daughter to possess admirable qualities, the likelihood was slim. Zhao Shu couldn't help but feel frustrated after Ms. Fang's subtle reminder. It seemed like they were inadvertently causing themselves trouble. But then, he realized that accommodating his mother-in-law's wishes might ultimately benefit them in the long run. Besides, he could use this opportunity to show his affection for Tao Tao. So he discreetly asked Tao Tao what she desired. He planned to bring it back for her, along with a heartfelt confession about his reluctance to be apart from her. With their preparations in order, Xiao Sanlang, Zhao Shu, and Tao Tao embarked on their journey to An's, laden with a plethora of local delicacies and specialties. The three of them were young and strong, so they did not need to deliberately slow down on the way. They arrived at Yuzhong Province City that day and stayed for a night. The next morning, they set off from Yuzhong Province City. On the fourth day at about 4 in the afternoon they entered An's. As Xiao Sanlang, Yang Xiaoni, and their entourage entered An's province, they couldn't help but marvel at its size, dwarfing their hometown of Heshan County. Despite the sparse population, they couldn't shake off their sense of awe. This was where their fifth brother wielded authority as an official, and every corner seemed to reflect his competence and prowess. They couldn't help but feel a surge of pride in his accomplishments. Meanwhile, back at home, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were immersed in a discussion about hot pot. Xiao Xian instructed Li Xia and Li Qiu to prepare an array of dishes for dinner, taking advantage of the abundance of mushrooms available in the mountains of An's province during this season. With plans to cook a sumptuous hot pot featuring a rich chicken and abalone broth, they also intended to incorporate various types of mushrooms for added flavor. Additionally, they planned to serve thinly sliced mutton, shrimp balls, fish balls, and fresh vegetables to complement the meal. As Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan enjoyed their hot pot feast, the east yard buzzed with activity, as Li Xia and the others prepared their own hot pot spread, ensuring a lively atmosphere for all. Chapter 1923. Family meets. The chicken and abalone soup had been prepared, and various dishes were in the process of being readied. Just then, Zhao Shu, Xiao Sanlang, Yang Xiaoni, and the others arrived. Ever since Zhao Shu got engaged to Tao Tao, he couldn't contain his excitement to announce to the world that he was soon to be the brother-in-law of the lord of the prefect. Additionally, being both generous and handsome, Zhao Shu knew he would be warmly received wherever he went. Upon Zhao Shu's arrival, he was filled with joy. With a radiant smile, he eagerly ushered them in and promptly dispatched someone to inform the lord and lady of the prefect. The message arrived so swiftly that Zhao Shu didn't even have the chance to inform them of Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni's presence. However, Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni paid no heed to the oversight. In fact, they planned to surprise Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan themselves. And indeed, when Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan caught sight of Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni entering with Zhao Shu, they were both taken aback. Fifth brother, fifth sister-in-law, fifth brother, fifth sister-in-law. They ran towards Xiaoxian and Xiao Yunduan happily. Only then did Xiaoxian and Xiao Yunduan snap out of their daze. It wasn't a dream. Their family was truly here. Third brother. Third sister-in-law. Ah, finally, we get to see you both. This is wonderful. Fifth brother has truly become an esteemed official. He's transformed. Just look at him, so commanding. He outshines even the county magistrate of our Hashan County. Ha 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 ha. And fifth sister-in-law, you're more beautiful than ever. And this must be Anan, isn't she? Such a handsome lad. Come, let me give you a hug. Xiaoxian and Xiao Yunduan reciprocated with smiles. What brings you here? Why didn't you send word ahead? Father, mother, how have you been? How are things back home? Where's Taotao? What's she up to these days? How's the village school? Are the children learning well? How's Junyin? How are our businesses faring? Is everything all right at home? Some asked questions, some provided answers, and some remained silent. Laughter and conversation filled the air, until gradually quieting down. Seizing the moment, Zhao Shu interjected with a smile. Third brother, third sister-in-law, we're here now. We'll be staying with fifth brother and sister-in-law for a few days. We'll have plenty of time to catch up. Please don't worry. You're absolutely right. Xiao Xian replied with a grin. You must be weary from the journey. Freshen up, have a cup of tea to unwind. We didn't anticipate our sudden arrival, so the guest room may not be prepared, but it's usually well kept. You're welcome to stay there. Please, make yourselves at home. Young Xiaoni chuckled. Fifth sister-in-law, you're too kind. We farmers aren't so particular, especially among family. Anywhere here is better than elsewhere. They all shared a hearty laugh. Xiao Xian ordered Li Xia and Li Qiu to take Xiao Sanlang and Zhao Shu to the guest room and said with a smile, You should have dinner soon. What a coincidence. We are going to eat hot pot tonight, and we have prepared a lot of ingredients. Really? That's great. As expected, we're in luck. Ha. I'm fine with other things, but I want your cooking. Me too. Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni were both gluttons, but even Zhao Shu was looking forward to it. Chapter 1924. Reunion. Fifth sister-in-law's culinary skills were unparalleled. Of course, Taotao's culinary skills were also very good. She would never get tired of it. The three of them did not rest for long. Before Xiaoxian and Xiao Yunduan asked for them, they arrived. The servants who followed them did not ask them to serve them. Someone led them down to entertain them. Xiao Yunduan and Xiaoxian were still talking, which was a pleasant surprise for them. Seeing them, Xiaoxian smiled. I was about to ask someone to call you, but you are here, which saves us the trip. Young Xiaoni smiled. I miss your cooking so much. They all laughed. Soon the hot pot was ready, accompanied by an array of side dishes. However, a notable change occurred. The dishes were now served on large communal plates, reflecting the growing number of diners gathered around. As more people joined, the atmosphere became increasingly vibrant. Xiaoxian, accustomed to preparing the Mandarin duck pot for every hot pot meal, continued the tradition. Today was no different. Half of the pot was spicy, while the other half was delectable. Seated together, everyone eagerly anticipated the feast. Thin slices of mutton sizzled as they were immersed in the pot, quickly changing color. Prawn balls, small and pristine white, bobbed alongside, while the thinly sliced pork belly, resembling a cicada's wing, unfurled and cooked to perfection. Each bite, dipped in sauce, was a savory delight. The group conversed and laughed well into the late hours of the night, savoring the informal hot pot gathering. Before retiring to bed, they exchanged stories and laughter, holding each other close. With a wistful smile, Xiaoxian expressed her longing for Shouting Village. She missed her family and her businesses dearly. After all, they were her first endeavors, her initial steps toward success. A treasure far more precious than vast estates and fertile lands elsewhere. So did Ms. Fong and Taotao. Xiaoxian had always held deep gratitude towards Ms. Fong, recognizing her as the epitome of a reasonable mother-in-law. In contrast, the mere thought of Ms. Niu or Ms. Ma evoked a sense of disgust within her. Ms. Fong stood out for her lack of concern over Xiaoxian's dowry, or any pressure to secure a concubine for her son. Despite facing ridicule from villagers for purchasing barren lands, including the rocky expanse behind her own property, Ms. Fong remained unfazed. While others, like Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, mocked her behind her back, Xiao Xian's mother-in-law stood by her side, unwavering in her support. Every detail remained etched in Xiao Xian's memory. In an era where women could assert independence and claim equal status, Ms. Fong embodied resilience and determination, pursuing her interests with unwavering resolve. Despite her strong will and eventual triumphs, Xiao Xian couldn't help but acknowledge the toll such battles took, leaving one exhausted and overwhelmed. Without her family's support, navigating the complexities of divorce would have been daunting. Even if achieved, establishing oneself as a woman in this era presented formidable challenges. Thankfully, such trials never materialized. Despite occasional annoyance from father-in-law, Xiao Xian found solace in her mother-in-law's calming presence, choosing to overlook any minor grievances. Overall, she counted herself fortunate. Wrapped in her husband's embrace, Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but reminisce. Since departing for his post in the capital, 3 years had passed without a return home. Although now in proximity, his obligations as an imperial court official tethered him to his duties, allowing little leeway for personal matters. Chapter 1925. Missing. Luckily, they were within reach, making it convenient for them to visit. If his wife wished to return home, the journey would be easily manageable. Xiao Yunduan grinned. Just wait a bit, Tao Tao's wedding is set for next spring. You'll have the perfect opportunity to return then. With the pleasant spring weather, you could extend your stay here a few more days. Xiao Xian shared the sentiment, readily agreeing with a smile. She anticipated exploring the flower fields, the Zhang family's tea mountains, and the alfalfa fields, planning to apply her special expertise to enhance their growth. Surely, the tea mountains would be thriving like dense forests by now. Yet, Xiao Xian's concerns gravitated toward Tao Tao's family. She exchanged a glance with Xiao Yunduan before jesting. Is young Master Zhao going to petition our lord for the wedding date? Should we expect any challenges from you? Xiao Yunduan erupted into laughter. When have I ever made things difficult for him? I simply reminded him not to mistreat Tao Tao. Xiao Xian found his response amusing. I believe young Master Zhao is an honorable man. Don't fret, dear. Tao Tao is both capable and sensible, capable of leading a fulfilling life, even if they relocate to the south. Xiao Yunduan smiled warmly, his eyes filled with affection. You've been a wonderful influence on her, even better than me as her brother. Xiao Xian returned the smile. Tao Tao is truly endearing, and I've grown quite fond of her. Xiao Yunduan tightened his embrace, his laughter soft and intimate as he whispered into her ear. Well, my dear, you're quite adorable yourself, and am rather fond of you too. Blushing. Xiao Xian playfully attempted to push him away. Stop it. Xiao Yunduan chuckled, lowering his head to capture her lips in a kiss, unable to resist the temptation. Xiao Xian's breath grew ragged as she covered his lips with her hands, pleading. No, please, I'm going out with third sister-in-law tomorrow. Don't leave me unable to move. Xiao Yunduan paused, gently biting her lip. I'll keep that in mind, and I'll make it up to you next time. But perhaps their privacy wasn't entirely a good thing. Xiao Xian didn't respond, feeling no obligation to do so. What did he mean by making it up to her? Xiao Yunduan wasn't ready to give up easily. His lingering frustration simmered as they found solace in each other's embrace, eventually drifting off to sleep. The next morning, after breakfast, Xiao Yunduan attended to matters at the front briefly, ensuring everything was in order before returning to his office to confer with Xiao Sanlang and Zhao Shu. Zhao Shu was considered a member of the family, and there was no reason to avoid him in matters concerning kinship. Therefore, Xiao Yunduan didn't shy away from interacting with Zhao Shu. What truly touched Zhao Shu was a sense of pride. His fifth brother had finally embraced him wholeheartedly. Meanwhile, Yang Xiani accompanied Xiao Xian. During their time together, Yang Xiani shared village gossip with Xiao Xian. Little Anan, nearing 4 months old, captivated everyone with her adorable demeanor. Her large, expressive eyes possessed a captivating innocence that could melt hearts. Despite being a mother herself, Yang Xiani couldn't resist holding and playing with her. Anan showed no reluctance toward Xiao Xian, readily allowing her to carry her. Later that afternoon, Xiao Xian and Yang Xiani ventured out for some shopping. Anne's province boasted a plethora of local specialties, and the two women indulged in purchasing various items along their journey. Their haul included an assortment of snacks and mountain delicacies, with young Xiaoni particularly enthusiastic in her praise as she sampled the regional treats. Observing the lively bustle of the city, young Xiaoni couldn't help but admire her fifth brother for his commendable performance as an officer. Chapter 1926. Calculation. Xiao Xian found it amusing. She simply listened to young Xiaoni's chatter, appreciating the company of her lively and cheerful friend. Young Xiaoni's buoyant personality ensured that boredom was never a concern. Their dinner plans featured roasted whole lamb, a dish Xiao Xian had arranged for the previous day. The lamb, seasoned with various spices, roasted over the intense heat of fruit charcoal, filled the air with tantalizing aromas. As the sharp knife sliced through the crispy skin, the aroma of the succulent meat mingled with the hot air, enticing Xiao Xian's appetite. Each piece, expertly carved, boasted crispy skin and tender meat. The combination of textures and fragrances made it impossible to resist indulging further. Conversation turned nostalgic as everyone reminisced about the times when Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan used to cook together at home, their mutual longing evident. While Xiao Xian typically oversaw such gatherings, her absence made organizing such an event challenging. Despite the family's financial stability and Ms. Fang's generosity in providing meat for every meal €1, ranging from chicken, duck and goose to pork, mutton, fish and shrimp €1, she seldom arranged for whole lamb, barbecue, or hot pot. After all, maintaining a simple, hassle-free lifestyle was preferable. Only Xiao Xian would be bothered by this. The following day, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan guided their guests to view the properties they had acquired in the area. Liuhe Fort remained too distant, and their professional commitments prevented a visit there. Upon returning from the mountains, both young Xiaoni and Xiao Sanling were visibly impressed, a sentiment shared by Zhao Shu. Fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law's capabilities were truly remarkable. They possessed a knack for transforming barren landscapes into enchanting marvels. Contemplating the success of the flower fields and perfume workshop they had developed together, Zhao Shu felt inspired to consider purchasing wasteland in Anne's province for reclamation and cultivation. He pledged to follow in their footsteps, confident he wouldn't fall short. After spending 8 days in Anne's province, the group faced the encroaching chill of mid-November. With the new year approaching, they reluctantly bid their farewells, unable to prolong their stay any further. Young Xiaoni couldn't bear to part with Ainen, expressing regret that her mother hadn't witnessed her adorable and well-behaved grandchild. It was evident that young Xiaoni cherished Ainen deeply. Observing young Xiaoni's affection, Xiao Xian couldn't help but feel pleased. Despite having her own son, young Xiaoni displayed no fear of Ainen encroaching on her grandmother's affection. Xiao Xian admired her sister-in-law's open-mindedness. Indeed, Zhao Shu had approached Xiao Yunduan regarding the wedding date. However, Xiao Yunduan didn't deem it appropriate for his parents to make the decision. Preferring a collaborative approach, he advised Zhao Shu to confer with his own parents. Once a date was agreed upon, Xiao Yunduan promised to inform them via letter. While Xiao Yunduan couldn't return home, Xiao Xian could make the journey, and she planned to bring Ainen along to meet the family. Zhao Shu's joy knew no bounds. With a radiant smile he exclaimed, "Thank you, fifth brother." He eagerly revealed that he had nearly finalized discussions with his in-laws. The wedding date was set for February of the following year. Coincidentally, as the weather grew warmer each day, and with the spring plowing season yet to commence, everyone found themselves with ample free time. Zhao Shu had already procured a spacious residence in Heshan County, nearing completion of its renovation. Betrothal gifts from Jiangnan had been steadily transported over. They were poised to formally present the betrothal gifts before the new year. When the time arrived, the wedding would take place in Heshan County. After accompanying Tao Tao back to her ancestral home 3 times, they would proceed to Zhao Shu's ancestral home to pay respects to her ancestors. Chapter 1927. Plotting for a long time, Zhao Shu talked nonstop, explaining the series of arrangements. It could be seen that this person had been plotting for a long time and had a plan. Xiao Yunduan found himself at a loss for words. He teetered between laughter and tears, though he couldn't deny the touch of sentimentality that Zhao Shu's words evoked. Deep down, Xiao Yunduan acknowledged Zhao Shu's genuine affection for Tao Tao, even if he wouldn't openly admit it. Xiao Yunduan's lack of objection to Zhao Shu's plans signified his tacit approval. However, the distance between Jiangnan and Heshan County posed a logistical challenge. While it would be relatively easy for Tao Tao to visit Xiaoxian and himself in the future, returning to Shouting Village would prove more cumbersome. This realization left Xiao Yunduan feeling a tinge of sadness. Similarly, Yang Xiaoni was reluctant to part ways with Xiaoxian. She continually reminded her friend to bring Ainen home as soon as the weather warmed after the new year. The longing for their presence at home, especially for Ainen, was palpable. Moreover, the prospect of returning to the mountains ignited Xiaoxian's excitement. The mountains held a special allure, promising joy and adventure. Yet, amidst the anticipation, thoughts of Qi lingered, casting a melancholic shadow over her spirits. Yang Xiaoni's emotional outburst, verging on tears, both saddened and amused Xiaoxian. With a gentle smile, she acquiesced and gently urged them to depart. As they bid farewell, the realization dawned that the capital lay thousands of kilometers away from An's province, underscoring the vast distance separating them. Under ordinary circumstances, the authorities in the capital wouldn't bother with a remote and seemingly inconsequential region like An's province. The banditry issue in An's province was severe, yet it largely went unnoticed by the capital's elite. Given the considerable distance between them, the question remained: could the bandits of An's prefecture truly pose a threat to the capital? As long as rebellion wasn't raised, and casualties remained minimal, the imperial court showed little interest. However, An's province held significance due to Xiao Yunduan's involvement, drawing attention from various quarters. Xiao Yunduan's eradication of all bandits in Anzuzhou sent shockwaves to the capital upon its dissemination. The court was astounded by Lord Xiao's multifaceted capability. He demonstrated not only academic prowess but also adeptness in combating banditry. His mastery of both scholarly and martial arts disciplines was unparalleled. For over a decade, the banditry issue had plagued An's province. Yet, in a short span, Lord Xiao managed to resolve it. The news left many incredulous. Who would have dared to doubt Lord Xiao's abilities now? Those who anticipated Lord Xiao's failure, waiting for him to falter and seek refuge back in the capital, found themselves deeply embarrassed by his remarkable achievements. Upon learning of these developments, Tian Shanshan was overcome with excitement, unable to sleep the entire night. Her mind raced, her heart ablaze with fervor. Clutching her chest, her flushed face and shining eyes betrayed her exhilaration. Lost in a daze, she wore a blissful, intoxicated smile. Her instincts had proven correct. She had never doubted his capability. Even in the remoteness of exile, he remained resolute and formidable. His unwavering confidence and tenacity yielded remarkable results. No one else could compare. The more Tian Shanshan dwelled on it, the more impassioned she became. The peculiar sense of pride and admiration nearly overwhelmed her, engulfing her in happiness. Yet, thoughts of Xiaoxian tempered Tian Shanshan's fervor, gradually chilling her once heated heart. Anger and resentment surged within her, fueling a desire to rid herself of Xiaoxian as quickly as possible. Why was he accompanied by a mere concubine's daughter and not her? If there was any blemish in his life, it undoubtedly stemmed from that concubine's daughter. Such a person was unworthy of him. Yet he remained oblivious or chose to ignore it. Chapter 1928. She won't give up. Tian Shanshan harbored doubts about Xiaoxian's true feelings for Xiao Yunduan. In her view, genuine love wouldn't sabotage one's partner's future, but rather empower them. Her actions seemed to betray such affection, marking her as self-centered and deceitful. Lord Xiao, characterized by his honesty and kindness, appeared to have been misled by Xiaoxian's facade. Feeling sympathy for Lord Xiao, Tian Shanshan was resolute in revealing Xiaoxian's true nature to him. She saw an opportunity in her cousin's potential ascension to the throne, which could facilitate her plans. At present, she needed to strategize with her cousin and aunt, ensuring that Lord Xiao didn't return to the capital immediately. The crown prince's situation without Lord Xiao appeared less favorable. He seemed to regress to a time of insignificance, lacking the emperor's full approval despite not facing explicit disapproval either. This contrasted starkly with the prior praise he received from the emperor. At such a crucial juncture, any further misstep by the crown prince would undoubtedly enrage the emperor. The crown prince couldn't contain his elation upon hearing of Xiao Yunduan's successful eradication of the bandits. His trust in the character of the person he admired swelled within him. True worth, like gold, retains its brilliance even when relegated to obscurity. Excitement radiated from the crown prince as he commended Xiao Yunduan, oblivious to the subtle exchanges and stiff expressions among his retinue. Yet, not everyone shared in the crown prince's jubilation. Among those already envious of Xiao Yunduan, schadenfreude prevailed upon his departure. However, his unexpected ascent to great heights within a short span and subsequent fame in the capital incensed them, defying their expectations. Some of the elder Confucians, while not harboring jealousy toward Xiao Yunduan, held reservations about his demeanor. They perceived him as too hot-headed, still lacking the maturity that comes with age and experience. Despite his contributions to the crown prince, his increasing arrogance and tendency to storm off over trivial matters left them anticipating his eventual stumble outside the capital, hoping it would humble him into genuine growth and refinement. In their private discussions, they unanimously shared these sentiments. Yet reality diverged from their expectations, leaving them feeling slighted and their authority undermined. The crown prince's endorsement of Xiao Yunduan only exacerbated their discomfort. While some secretly admired Xiao Yunduan, they maintained a cautious distance, offering only sighs of sympathy behind his back and, if circumstances permitted, discreetly providing information. However, they refrained from openly advocating for him, opting instead to remain passive observers. At best, they would choose silence. Unaware of this undercurrent, the crown prince considered Xiao Yunduan and his advisors as kin, all part of his inner circle. Upon complimenting Xiao Yunduan, the crown prince surveyed the assembly and posed with a smile. "I believe Officer Xiao's talents are squandered in the modest An's province. I'm contemplating a transfer back to the capital after the new year. What say you all?" Chapter 1929. Obstruction. As soon as the crown prince broached the topic, a silent exchange swept through the assembly, a tacit acknowledgement of expectations being met. However, this realization stirred a myriad of uncomfortable emotions within them. "Crown Prince, perhaps we ought to tread cautiously in this matter. The distance between An's province and the capital spans 500 kilometers. It's imperative we thoroughly scrutinize the situation there. Any missteps or oversights could inadvertently implicate Your Highness." The sentiment found unanimous agreement among the gathered advisors. Indeed, a more circumspect approach is warranted. Certain individuals seem intent on stirring trouble for the crown prince. We must exercise heightened vigilance during this period. Any misstep could have grave repercussions. It's crucial to recognize they lack the crown prince's compassion and wisdom. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. The advisors voiced their concerns simultaneously, emboldened by the crown prince's evident dilemma, tilting the discourse in a more cautious direction. I don't wish to appear petty, but this situation does seem rather peculiar. Permit me to be candid. Despite the dispatch of an imperial army, Lord Xiao's return empty-handed remains confounding. How much time has elapsed? It strains belief. Forgive my curiosity. I merely seek clarification, nothing more. A single stone cast into the pond sparked 1,000 ripples, intensifying the discussion among the advisors. I share the same doubts. Indeed, after a decade, those mountain bandits should have only grown more formidable and entrenched. It defies logic that Lord Xiao handled them so effortlessly, almost as if they were mere illusions. Exactly. Lord Xiao's expertise lies in governance, not military tactics or combat. His victory does seem remarkably implausible. Could there be undisclosed factors at play? Alas, the divide between us and the truth is vast. Perhaps Lord Xiao embellished the situation to hasten his return to the capital? Just a thought. No need to take it seriously. I, too, believe Lord Xiao to possess integrity. True, yet uncertainties linger. Moreover, he might come to regret his decision once he's there. Could this be a plot, then? Someone orchestrating events to ensnare the crown prince? Difficult to say. The crown prince's brow furrowed slightly, a tinge of discontent creeping in. He maintained faith in Xiao Yunduan's character, confident he wouldn't allow misleading information to reach the capital. Nonetheless, the remarks swirling around him unsettled his conviction. But what if furthermore, there was the looming question of who orchestrated the supposed trap. Knowing of his desire to recall Xiao Yunduan, if he exploited this opportunity to summon him back, what if the accolades were unfounded or complications arose? The blame would ultimately fall on him, and his adversaries wouldn't relent so easily. Although the advisor's words were a little sharp and unpleasant, what they said was not completely unreasonable. More importantly, they were all thinking for him. He had to accept this kind gesture. Forget it, let's think about this matter carefully. Go back and ask more about it. The Crown Prince sighed, feeling rather regretful. Chapter 1930. No opinion. Sending someone to An's province to clarify matters seemed like the logical solution for the Crown Prince. However, such a move was fraught with risk. It was a taboo for princes to personally involve themselves in contacting local officials or meddling in regional affairs. Discovery of such clandestine actions could spell trouble. Nevertheless, this didn't imply a lack of surveillance. The princes maintained a network of spies, but An's province posed a unique challenge. Xiao Yunduan's prominence there had drawn considerable attention, with even the princes awaiting the crown prince's response, anticipating any investigative measures. The crown prince couldn't assure the stealth of his covert operatives amidst the watchful eyes covertly observing the province. Upon the crown prince's decision, his advisors breathed a collective sigh of relief, lauding his astuteness. Crown princes held a distinct position from other princes. With careful governance and avoidance of missteps, their status remained steadfast. Their primary concern was ensuring the crown prince's stability, thwarting any opportunity for rival princes to undermine him. Amidst the turmoil, the crown prince clung to the belief that perseverance would eventually yield clarity and success. Indeed, many of his advisors harbored reservations about Xiao Yunduan's methods, perceiving them as needlessly provocative. The crown prince, akin to precious porcelain, stood in stark contrast to the clay pots represented by rival princes. Engaging in direct confrontation would only disadvantage him. Why bother? They reasoned. Through patience and magnanimity, he could cultivate a reputation of benevolence and generosity. Yet, some envious advisors feared the crown prince might rescind his decision, engaging in clandestine discussions to sway him. Even the princess consort, privy to the machinations of court gossip, urged caution. She lamented the derogatory remarks circulating about the crown prince's reliance on Lord Xiao's achievements, and the perceived need to entreat his return before confirmation from An's province. Her indignation was palpable. How dare they? Since when does the crown prince need to supplicate a courtier? I find their words intolerably. Upon hearing her report, the crown prince's discomfort was evident, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Though he could deceive others, he couldn't deceive himself. Regret gnawed at him for letting Xiao Yunduan slip away. Indeed, it was undeniable that there were no notable accomplishments or commendable deeds to earn his father's praise. Occasionally, the crown prince found himself pondering the hypothetical scenario where Xiao Yunduan remained by his side. The conclusion was invariably bleak. Had Xiao Yunduan not departed, circumstances would have unfolded differently. Such musings remained confined within the crown prince's heart. He would never vocalize them. Yet, the rumor echoing his inner turmoil struck a raw nerve, fueling his anger and frustration. Consequently, summoning Xiao Yunduan back to the capital was out of the question. To do so would inadvertently validate the rumors circulating about his reliance on Xiao Yunduan. Observing the crown prince's inaction, the fourth prince, initially prepared for resistance, found his hopes unexpectedly realized. The province would be spared from further upheaval. However, this perceived acquiescence only served to deepen their disdain for the crown prince. They deemed him lacking in courage and conviction. How could someone so indecisive and timid be fit to lead the realm? Even the emperor, anticipating a different course of action, was taken aback by the crown prince's passivity. expecting him to request Xiao Yenduan's return to the capital. Chapter 1931. Crown Prince's awkwardness. Unexpectedly, despite ample opportunities, the Crown Prince remained silent on the matter. Emperor Xian shook his head in bewilderment, unable to fathom the Crown Prince's motives. Ultimately, he decided not to interfere. If the Crown Prince had no inclination to act, so be it. After all, the court boasted many talents, rendering Xiao Yenduan's return inconsequential in Emperor Xian's eyes. As a mere courtier, Xiao Yenduan could continue his service outside the capital for a while longer. While the Crown Prince stayed mum, the fourth prince seized the opportunity to advocate for Xiao Yenduan's recognition as the prefect of An's province, triggering an instantaneous reaction akin to dropping a drop of water into a pot of boiling oil. Courtiers instinctively turned their gaze towards the Crown Prince. Even Emperor Xian cast a sidelong glance in his direction. The Crown Prince's body tensed, his cheeks flushing with heat. Only through sheer self-discipline and inner fortitude did he manage to suppress his embarrassment. How could it not be awkward? Xiao Yenduan's unwavering loyalty and service to him were common knowledge throughout the court. Xiao Yenduan's significant contribution to combating the bandits was brought to attention by the fourth Prince Yuro, a move that felt like a direct affront to the Crown Prince. Regardless of the fourth prince's sincerity, his actions had undeniably stung the Crown Prince. Suppressing his simmering anger, the Crown Prince forced a smile. Indeed, fourth brother is correct. Lord Xiao's efforts have been invaluable in quelling the turmoil. He truly deserves recognition. Absolutely. The fourth prince chimed in, radiating satisfaction. Father, Lord Xiao's achievements at such a young age demonstrate his exceptional talent. It appears his decision to depart the capital was wise. With a few more years of experience and stability, he'll undoubtedly become a cornerstone of our empire's future. Therefore, not only should we reward him, but we should do so generously. The Crown Prince's embarrassment deepened, rendering him stiff and speechless. Yesuyuro the Emperor offered a mysterious smile, and nodded approvingly. Both the Crown Prince and the fourth prince speak wisely. Xiao Yenduan's contributions merit recognition. He shall receive 100 taels of gold, a pair of white jade walls, and royal brocade. Furthermore, he shall be appointed as an official to govern a region for the betterment of its people. Do not disappoint me. Implicit in his words was the assurance that Xiao Yenduan would still have an opportunity to return to the capital in due time. With the emperor's endorsement, it seemed inevitable that Xiao Yenduan would achieve remarkable success upon his return to the capital. The fourth prince, acknowledging the emperor's wisdom, offered his respectful acquiescence, followed by the Crown Prince echoing the sentiment. After the court adjourned, officials from the Ministry of Personnel and the Ministry of Political Affairs busied themselves drafting the decree, assembling rewards, and deliberating over who would be dispatched to An's province to deliver the decree. Returning to the Crown Prince's residence, the Crown Prince could no longer contain his frustration. The fourth prince's actions were despicable. The visceral disgust lingered within him, no longer needing suppression in private. His face flushed with heat as he recalled the scrutiny directed at him when the fourth prince broached the matter. Slamming his palm against the table, he ground his teeth in frustration. Similarly, the advisors in the Eastern Palace seethed with envy and boredom. Already envious of Xiao Yenduan, their jealousy intensified further. What had Xiao done to warrant such favor? The fourth prince audaciously claimed credit for him, and yet the emperor refrained from verifying the situation in An's province, instead rewarding him outright. Though absent from the capital, Xiao Yenduan remained in the spotlight, exacerbating their sense of inadequacy. How could they not feel resentful? It rendered them feeling utterly impotent and irrelevant. Chapter 1932. I don't believe it, but I have suspicions. As discussions surrounding Xiao Yenduan proliferated within the Crown Prince's vicinity, suspicion began to gnaw at him. He entertained the notion that Xiao Yenduan might be colluding with the fourth prince, or worse, had defected to his side. After all, why else would the fourth prince advocate for him so vehemently? It seemed utterly illogical, yet the Crown Prince couldn't bring himself to believe it. While others might be unaware, he knew firsthand the extent of the fourth prince's past transgressions, nearly causing harm to Qiao Xian. Given this history, Xiao Yunduan would never align himself with the fourth prince. Moreover, he trusted Xiao Yunduan's integrity. He was not one to betray his principles. However, a lingering unease lingered within him. Despite his trust in Xiao Yunduan, he couldn't shake off the resentment he harbored towards the fourth prince. Though unspoken, the grudge weighed heavily on his heart. Yet he refused to let this cloud his judgment and reject the fourth prince's well-intentioned gestures out of spite. Perplexed, the crown prince couldn't comprehend the fourth prince's fixation on Ms. Qiao. Wasn't she doing well now? Their past should be behind them. Why was the fourth prince so fixated and vindictive about a woman? In essence, the crown prince dismissed the rumors regarding Xiao Yunduan, but remained suspicious nonetheless. The princess consort was incensed upon learning of the situation in court. Addressing the crown prince, she vented her frustrations, questioning Xiao Yunduan's motives and expressing disbelief at the fourth prince's advocacy for him. To her, it seemed inexplicable and concerning. She voiced her doubts about whether Xiao Yunduan remained the same person they once knew, given the distance and lack of communication. She urged the crown prince not to dwell on Xiao Yunduan's actions, dismissing him as unworthy of the crown prince's generosity. Merely a minister, she reasoned, he had no right to throw tantrums in the crown prince's presence. Instead, she encouraged the crown prince to focus on the upcoming spring quarter examination, assuring him of the abundance of talented individuals awaiting discovery. The crown prince, swayed by the princess consort's words, found himself growing increasingly displeased with Xiao Yunduan. Reflecting on the princess consort's counsel, he couldn't help but smile. Indeed, the spring quarter examination was imminent, offering an opportunity to recruit fresh talent. With the empire teeming with potential, there was no shortage of options. Meanwhile, in An's province, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan enjoyed a newfound sense of ease. With worries lifted, they approached their tasks with renewed vigor. Qiao Xian revisited Liuhe Fort, where Songshi, Lufu, Yangmu, and their cohorts had already made remarkable progress in repairing the roads. Recognizing the importance their master placed on infrastructure, they spared no effort in their endeavors. With a well-constructed road, they anticipated numerous benefits in the future, and thus invested significant resources and manpower into its completion. As Qiao Xian's wagon traversed the newly flattened and spacious terrain, it provided a significant improvement over the previous bumpy path, offering substantial relief to the province. While slightly longer, the smoother route allowed for faster travel, cutting the time in half compared to walking. Once a notorious bandit stronghold, Liuhe Fort had undergone a remarkable transformation into Liuhe Manor. The landscape bore little resemblance to its former state. Many of the dilapidated structures and defensive barriers on the mountainside had been dismantled, making way for expansive and orderly courtyards. Should Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan choose to inspect the area, they would find comfortable accommodations awaiting them, with a vantage point affording panoramic views of the surroundings. Construction was also underway at the foot of the mountain, where the foundations of a new manor were rapidly taking shape. Various essential facilities were being erected, including servants' quarters, warehouses, tool sheds, and storage yards. Additionally, specialized spaces for handling and drying medicinal herbs were being established, along with a transparent workshop dedicated to herbal processing. Chapter 1933. Modifying Liuhe Fort. Songshi even enlisted someone to dig a canal and create a stream encircling it. Plans for future development included the excavation and construction of several pools for washing purposes. Simultaneously, efforts were underway to explore the surrounding wasteland. Duck and chicken farms were also in the works. Following Qiao Xian's blueprint, for shallow ponds, each spanning about 10 mu, were carved into the valley of the duck farm. A complex network of meandering ditches and waterways interconnected, while various aquatic plants were transplanted during the onset of spring to serve as breeding grounds for the ducks. The bustling activity painted a vibrant scene. Over 600 individuals were engaged in various tasks, effectively absorbing surplus labor from nearby villages and towns. Songshi, Lufu, and Yangmu tirelessly oversaw operations day in and day out. Despite having a few capable assistant stewards, decisions still rested heavily on their shoulders. Even Mian Mian lent a helping hand frequently. Xiao Xian had already instructed Yuezheng Xiao to procure assorted seeds and prepare fruit trees for planting. Gradually, the landscape transformed in accordance with Xiao Xian's vision. Her satisfaction seemed to foreshadow a prosperous future. Workers understood the significance of their labor and envisioned the potential of the area. Conversations buzzed with praise and envy for the promising future that lay ahead. They had seen landlords' manors before, but never had they witnessed one with such an enticing layout that stirred envy and longing. Chickens and ducks roamed freely amidst scattered medicinal herbs, while clear canals and streams meandered throughout the grounds. Fruit trees adorned every corner. How vibrant it would be! The local farmers who arrived for work couldn't help but be drawn in by the sight, their curiosity piqued. Following discussions at home, Madame Xiao ensured they were generously compensated, never failing to deliver on payment. The Xiao family stewards overseeing the work fostered a friendly atmosphere, devoid of harsh reprimands or condescension. Madame Xiao's integrity was unquestionable. Given Madame Xiao's assurances, it seemed sensible to cultivate herbs at home. With guidance from Madame Xiao's staff, managing them wouldn't be a hassle. Selling the herbs back to her could potentially yield some profit. Though only a fraction of the village population entertained such thoughts, it proved sufficient. Those who shared similar aspirations convened and sought out Songshi. To Song's surprise, he found himself apprehensive about the situation. This endeavor was entrusted to him by Madame. If people sought him out, it would align perfectly with his objectives. With conviction, he reassured them that Madame's promises were ironclad. How could Madame deceive them? However, if he aimed to cultivate a substantial quantity of these medicinal herbs for profit, he would need to allocate at least 2 mu of land. During that period, seeds could be procured from Madame at a discounted rate, making it a cost-effective endeavor. In the initial year, Madame showed willingness to support their efforts and lead them towards prosperity. Seed prices remained relatively low, though it was uncertain whether they would match market rates in the future. In truth, Xiao Xian could easily provide the seeds for free. Yet, items obtained free of charge often lacked appreciation and were sometimes regarded with disdain. There might even be individuals who acquired the seeds without genuine intent to cultivate them. Furthermore, if one couldn't even muster the willingness to pay for the seeds, it called into question their commitment to the endeavor. The likelihood of neglecting the cultivation process increased significantly. Chapter 1934. Hunting in the mountains. As expected, upon learning that they would need to purchase the seeds with their own funds, many individuals hesitated once again. Indeed, the cost was not exorbitant. Their families could afford it. Yet, what if the endeavor didn't yield profits? Numerous medicinal herbs required 2 or even 3 years to mature. If the venture proved unprofitable, wouldn't it be a waste? Though the expense wasn't significant, it was still money. Ultimately, only a handful of people were genuinely willing to commit to planting 2 or 3 mu of medicinal herbs and register with Songshi. On average, there were merely 2 or 3 families per village willing to participate. The largest village boasted 5 families, while some had none at all. As Songshi prepared to relay the outcome to Xiao Xian, she greeted him with a smile and a nod. Just as I anticipated, the number of participants is sufficient. Keep track of the list, and remember to provide me with updates. Relieved that he wasn't reprimanded, Songshi readily agreed. Come early December, with favorable weather prevailing, Xiao Xian's long-awaited desire was finally realized. Xiao Yunduan seized the opportunity to venture into the mountains for a hunt, accompanied by Yi, Zheng Sang, Wu Guan, Mian Mian, Li Xia, while Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and Hang Xingshan remained behind to safeguard the state office. Ainan was still too young to accompany them into the mountains. Before dawn, the group of nearly 20 individuals mounted their horses and set out. Their destination this time was Mili Town, situated over 60 miles away from An's prefecture city. The surrounding mountains boasted expansive stretches, with verdant valleys and lush forests teeming with wildlife. Their prime hunting grounds. Given the expedition, they naturally opted for the finest location available. Furthermore, Xiao Yunduan hadn't had the chance to visit An's province since his arrival, making it an opportune moment for him to observe the local populace. Disguised as ordinary merchants and affluent families, The journey proved arduous, taking over an hour and a half to traverse the rugged terrain to reach Mealy Town. The Towley Ridge region they intended to explore was still another hour away from Mealy Town. After indulging in breakfast at Mealy Town, they pressed onward. Before venturing into Towley Ridge, they left the carriage and horses at the land officer's residence in the nearest village, opting to spend the night there. Half a day had elapsed by this point, rendering it impractical to delve into the mountains. With winter prevailing, spending the night in the deep forests and rugged terrain was out of the question. Safety concerns aside, the biting cold could prove fatal. They could only spend the night and embark on their mountain expedition early the next morning. After settling in, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan took a stroll around the village. Despite the abundance of mountains and scarcity of fields in An's province, the scenery was truly captivating. Even within this modest village, there were sights that ignited one's senses. The mountains echoed with the calls of cuckoos, and wild cherry trees dotted the landscape. Though currently barren, one could envision the breathtaking beauty that awaited with the arrival of spring, when verdant hills and flowing rivers would come to life. Following a restful night at the land officer's residence, save for missing Anan, everything proceeded smoothly. Anan was in the capable hands of the nanny and maids, so there was no cause for concern. He wasn't too young anymore to spend a night away from his mother, and Xiao Xian forced herself to put aside any lingering worries. Children deserved indulgence, but there was no harm in teaching them resilience. As the sky once again dawned hazy, the group prepared to depart. The winter chill of the early morning was piercing, clinging to their faces and hands with bone-chilling intensity. Their breaths formed clear puffs of white air in the crisp atmosphere. Thankfully, their thick clothing provided ample warmth, offering comfort as they ventured forth. Chapter 1935. In the mountain it was a rare occasion for them to venture out for leisure and exercise, and excitement permeated the group. As the mountain path gradually grew rugged and overgrown with weeds, fatigue failed to dampen their spirits. In the depths of the winter mountains, the stark and desolate scenery instilled a profound sense of chill and solemnity. As the sky brightened, a wet white fog gently cascaded along the mountain ridges with the morning breeze, creating an ethereal veil. The emerald hues of the mountains enveloped by this mist exuded a serene beauty reminiscent of paradise. Despite the winter season, the intermediate mountains resonated with the melodious chirping of numerous birds. Their cheerful tunes reverberated through the ancient forest, infusing the travelers with renewed vitality and dispelling fatigue. An's province seldom experienced snow, save for occasional moderate falls every few years. However, deep within the mountains, those braving the cold could behold the enchanting spectacle of rime-covered trees rivaling the allure of snow-dusted landscapes Euro, a true crystalline wonderland of unparalleled clarity. Although it was only the 12th lunar month and not yet cold enough to witness the breathtaking rime, there was no need to fret. They could still marvel at it from the lofty peaks near Lioha Manor when the time came. Today their purpose was clear. They had come for the hunt. At that moment, the sun had just risen, casting a gentle morning glow upon the landscape. It was around 9 in the morning. Zhang Sang, Yi Lu Fu, and the others surveyed the terrain and unanimously agreed that it was promising. With its rugged terrain and towering ancient trees, it held great potential for a successful hunt. With ample time at their disposal, there was no need for haste. They settled in a spot and indulged in the dry provisions they had brought along. Lu Fu, Qiao Qiao, and the other children were particularly animated, eagerly discussing their expectations for the day's hunt. Under the tutelage of Zhang Sang and the others, Lu Fu's martial skills had advanced rapidly. He even expressed his desire to bag 2 significant prey for his lord and madam, much to Qiao Qiao and the others' envy. Caught between amusement and concern, Xiao Yunduan cautioned. The mountain is fraught with peril, and you are still young. Don't take unnecessary risks. Confronting wild beasts could have dire consequences. Lu Fu grinned mischievously. I'll stick close to Uncle Zhang. Don't worry, Lord. Xiao Xian chimed in with a smile. If you encounter a wild boar, make sure to flee. They're the kings of the mountains, and you shouldn't provoke them unless you're confident. Lu Fu's eyes widened in astonishment and admiration. Yes. Madam knows about this too. Mian Mian and Xiao Qiao echoed in unison. Madam knows everything. Laughter filled the air, Xiao Xian included. After a simple meal, the group dispersed to search for prey in the mountains. This terrain was beyond compare for the average person. The mountains were rugged, the vegetation dense, and countless birds and beasts lurked amidst the foliage. Yet, success in hunting still relied on luck. Despite the challenges, the group exuded confidence, bolstered by their numbers and collective experience. Zheng Sang had already delegated scouts to forge ahead and leave markers along the path, while the rest followed at a distance. Walking alongside the team, Xiao Xian grasped Xiao Yunduan's hand and communicated with the plants as she moved. With a gentle sweep of her power, she surveyed everything within range. Their surroundings teemed with wildlife. Pheasants, grouse, mountain eagles, wild rabbits, roe deer, foxes, squirrels, musk deer, mountain katsuyuro. A diverse array of birds and beasts populated the landscape. Chapter 1936. Chasing prey. Xiao Xian's keen eyesight caught sight of a massive wild boar, its thick fur resembling that of a calf. With long, sharp tusks and fierce, beady eyes, it exuded an aura of intimidation that sent shivers down the spines of onlookers. For the time being, they hadn't encountered any tigers or wolves. In truth, Xiao Xian harbored a desire to stumble upon herds of wild sheep or deer. With their ample numbers, it would be relatively easy to hunt them, and the meat would undoubtedly be succulent. Before long, the group began to see results. In the blink of an eye, they had acquired several more hares, pheasants, and grouse. Yi even managed to bag a deer weighing approximately 20 kilograms, eliciting cheers of joy from everyone. At least they had successfully hunted a substantial prey. Even if they couldn't catch larger game, the smaller catches of wild rabbits and pheasants made the trip worthwhile. The mountain range was abundant with medicinal herbs, but their value wasn't particularly high. Unable to collect and store them in her interspace, Xiao Xian reluctantly left them behind. Xiao Yunduan remained steadfast in his protective stance, refusing to let her wander alone in such unfamiliar territory. He kept her close, tightly holding her hand. Despite feeling a twinge of regret for abandoning her clandestine plans, Xiao Xian conceded to her husband's overprotectiveness, feeling a sense of helplessness. Soon they stumbled upon two large Ganoderma lucidum mushrooms, each at least 300 years old. Recognizing their value, Xiao Xian nonchalantly led the group in their direction. Coincidentally, they stumbled upon the mushrooms from afar, much to everyone's delight. Zheng Sang carefully climbed the cliff to retrieve them. They carefully wrapped the Ganoderma lucidum in several layers of tree leaves and placed them in a small basket. Amidst laughter, everyone remarked that it was wise to follow Lord and Madam. After all, this Ganoderma lucidum had thrived for countless years, rendering it priceless. Merely laying eyes on it was a treat in itself. Xiao Xian smiled and declared, "Everyone will receive a portion of today's harvest, including the Ganoderma lucidum. Upon returning, assess its value, and everyone will receive their share." As for the Ganoderma lucidum, it naturally belonged to her. The others would offer it to her. According to the rule of mountain exploration, anyone who spotted valuable finds would receive a portion, regardless of age. However, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were the principal members of the expedition, not equal partners. It was ultimately their decision whether to distribute it to others. Upon hearing Xiao Xian's generous offer, everyone expressed gratitude with smiles on their faces. No one would complain about having too much wealth. Subsequently, they stumbled upon over 5 kilometers of wild Gastrodia elata. If not for Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan's familiarity with each other, they might have overlooked it. The others had heard of Gastrodia elata, but were unaware of its location. Their joy knew no bounds. They considered themselves incredibly fortunate to be amidst such bounty in the depths of the mountain. Xiao Xian feigned indifference when she encountered various mundane herbs, choosing to overlook them. The depths of the mountains were brimming with treasures beyond count. Trying to gather them all would be an impossible feat, detracting from their primary objective of hunting. In addition to the myriad of herbs, the mountains also yielded an abundance of wild fruits. Xiao Xian even stumbled upon wild kiwi fruit trees. However, given that she already had kiwi trees in her interspace and some in the orchard in Yuzhong Province City, she paid them no heed. She made a mental note to plant some in Liuhe Manor at a later time. Chapter 1937. Personally reasonable Wu Guan's discovery of a wild deer herd sparked excitement among everyone. With it still being before noon, they swiftly decided to give chase. After thorough discussion and planning, they aimed to catch up with the herd and hunt down 5 to 6, or even 7 deer. Following the hunt, they would take a break to roast some pheasants and hares for lunch before heading back. Anticipation ran high among the group. Wild deer herds were a rarity, even in the forests of An's province. It was said that sightings were few and far between, and even the most seasoned hunters couldn't guarantee success. It all came down to luck. Today luck seemed to be on their side. The deer herd's pace was neither fast nor slow, but traversing the rugged terrain slowed their progress. Additionally, wild deer were inherently vigilant, easily spooked by the slightest disturbance, often vanishing into the forest. As they drew nearer, caution became paramount, further slowing their advance. Unbeknownst to them, more than 2 hours had elapsed, yet they still struggled to approach the deer herd, which remained nearly 1,000 meters away. They were wary of making too much noise, fearing it would startle the deer herd and lead to a missed opportunity, a significant loss for the day. Despite their mounting anxiety, they refrained from acting impulsively, determined not to abandon the chase. Hour after hour passed, their pursuit relentless. As the sun crept past noon, Zheng Sang glanced skyward, noting the time. Continuing the chase at this hour was ill-advised. Nightfall in the winter mountain forest approached swiftly, accompanied by plummeting temperatures. Failing to exit the mountain before nightfall posed considerable danger. While he, as their leader, could endure such conditions, considering Lord, Madam, and their accompanying maidservants, it was another matter entirely. Their endurance had been commendable thus far, but it was evident that their physical fitness wasn't suited for traveling after dark. Lord, Madam, perhaps the 2 of you should remain here with a few others. Well, continue the chase. If we haven't caught up within half an hour, well, return. It's getting late, and we should prepare to leave the mountain, Zheng Sang suggested in a hushed tone to Qiao Xian and Xiao Yinduan. Xiao Yinduan found merit in the suggestion. Considering their successful day, he assumed his wife would be content. Turning to Qiao Xian, he inquired, "What do you think, my dear? I believe we should prepare to depart before darkness falls." Qiao Xian hesitated momentarily before asserting, "Let's press on. We've come this far, and it would be a shame to lose sight of them now. If nightfall overtakes us, we can spend the night in the mountains, seeking shelter from the wind. With our numbers, building a bonfire would be simple, and the night would pass quickly. And if luck is on our side, we may stumble upon a spacious cave, alleviating any concerns." Indeed, they had recently spotted a sizable cave, offering a promising refuge. Additionally, anticipating potential mishaps, they had brought extra shoes and thick clothing, ample for an overnight stay. Xiao Yunduan's expression was indecipherable, but Qiao Xian's reasoning held weight, though she refrained from elaborating further. Regardless, finding a suitable cave for the night was assuredly within reach. Chapter 1938. A good place like a paradise. Although spending the night in the mountains posed risks, it wasn't insurmountable. The group was numerous and well prepared, instilling confidence in facing any potential dangers, including ferocious beasts. Despite the chilly night temperatures, finding a suitable cave could alleviate the discomfort. Initially, Xiao Yunduan disagreed, but he eventually acquiesced to his wife Qiao Xian's persistence. As they relentlessly pursued the deer herd, their enthusiasm remained high, overshadowing any apprehensions about spending the night in the mountains. With the promise of such a sizable prey ahead, their resolve strengthened, shedding any remaining hesitations. After an hour of pursuit, the deer herd seemingly vanished, prompting everyone to investigate. They soon discovered a concealed entrance to a valley, realizing the deer had slipped through it. Undeterred, they pressed on into the unknown. The entrance to the valley was concealed, framed by narrow cliffs that almost seemed to touch the sky, offering only a slender glimpse of the heavens above. After traversing a winding path for approximately 40 to 50 meters, they rounded a corner obstructed by massive boulders, and suddenly, their vista expanded. Wow! What is this place? It's breathtaking. Look, a deer herd. And sheep too. Are those wild horses grazing on the distant slope? Incredible. Silent awe enveloped them as they beheld this unexpected marvel. A veritable paradise hidden within the mountains. Spread before them lay an expansive basin adorned with lush, emerald-green grass. Sprinkled throughout were occasional bushes, standing half the height of a person. On the gentle slopes in the distance, tall trees stood sentinel, reaching towards the heavens. A serpentine river meandered gracefully through the basin, its surface shimmering silver under the sun's gentle caress. In the distance, a vast lake mirrored the sky above, its surface also aglow with silver hues, while white dots of waterbirds danced upon its tranquil waters. The verdant reeds, resembling delicate gauze, swayed gently by the lake, a sight that charmed the onlooker from afar. This sanctuary teemed with a diverse array of wildlife: sheep, deer, wild horses, rabbits, pheasants, wild ducks, and more, creating a vibrant tapestry of life. Notably warmer than the desolate, icy forest they had left behind, the temperature here offered a palpable contrast, heightening their senses and spirits. Excitement bubbled within each member of the group as they reveled in the discovery of this unexpected paradise. Never had they imagined such splendor concealed within the forest depths. The ease with which prey could be hunted in this bountiful land alleviated any concerns about spending the night. Xiao Xian, too, felt a surge of excitement and pride, her heart brimming with happiness. Having sensed the richness of this place through her unique abilities, she had been drawn by its lush greenery and vast expanse. Though unable to fully comprehend the basin's entirety with her powers, her curiosity impelled her to explore firsthand. This journey was a rare opportunity, and the thought of missing out on such a wondrous place propelled them forward. They knew not when such an opportunity might present itself again. Chapter 1939. Hot Spring. Furthermore, there was simply no feasible option for them to depart at this moment. Even if they attempted to leave, they would inevitably end up spending the night anyway. Hence, while pursuing the deer herd, Xiao Xian employed some cunning tactics to drive the animals towards this direction. Their arrival at this hidden haven proved fortuitous beyond expectation. None among them had anticipated such a stark contrast to their surroundings. Intrigued by the uncharacteristic warmth of the area, they speculated that the terrain played a significant role. Shielded by the four peaks, the biting cold winds were thwarted, while ample water nourished the lush vegetation, creating a microclimate noticeably warmer than the outside. However, Xiao Xian possessed deeper insights. Delving further into the basin, she uncovered the source of this warmth: a geothermal hot spring nestled at its far end. At that moment, steam rose from the bubbling waters of over 10 hot springs of varying sizes, enveloping the surroundings in a misty veil. Surrounded by towering mountains and bolstered by the geothermal activity of the hot springs, the basin thrived with flourishing aquatic life, its temperature elevated beyond that of the external environment. Unbeknownst to them, they were now nearly 20 miles deep into the basin, their attention captivated by their surroundings. With knowledge of the hot springs' location, Xiao Xian expressed her curiosity, suggesting they follow the river to uncover its source. Her smile was infectious, prompting unanimous agreement from the group. Enthralled by the beauty of their discovery, they eagerly embarked on this new adventure, hopeful for further surprises. Though the deer herd had eluded them, the abundance of wildlife in the area assured them of potential quarry for the morning ambush by the water's edge. Yet, in this moment, urgency faded away. They strolled leisurely, the path now accommodating and pleasant. Soft grass and scattered bushes posed no hindrance as they continued their exploration. With the province having already cleared a path, their progress quickened noticeably. Upon reaching the lake's edge, they couldn't resist pausing to admire the scenery. The expanse of water stretched out before them, covering an area equivalent to at least 100 mu, its surface shimmering in pristine clarity. Reeds hugged the lake's perimeter, forming a dense, verdant canopy akin to a green tapestry. Above, numerous waterfowl of various sizes, wild ducks, geese, mandarin ducks, and aigrettes flitted about, adding to the lively atmosphere. Excitement gripped Xiao Xian and her companions as they identified familiar and unfamiliar avian species, pointing eagerly at each other. "Look at that plump wild duck. It'll make for a delicious meal. I'll aim for two. And that goose, it's massive. It's a shame we don't have nets. There must be plenty of fish and shrimp in this lake. Well, we'll bring them next time. We can fashion bamboo rafts with bamboo wood and rope. Agreed, that's a splendid idea. Does that mean we'll return? Inquired one of the group members, eyes fixed on Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan grinned knowingly, anticipating his wife's response. Without hesitation, Xiao Xian returned the smile. Absolutely. Why wouldn't we revisit such a splendid spot? But let's keep it among ourselves. No need to share this gem with anyone else. Once we're out of here, remember Euro mum's the word. If word spreads, it won't remain our secret sanctuary, she cautioned, garnering nods of agreement from the group. Xiao Yunduan reiterated sternly, you heard her. This stays between us. No one else needs to know about this place. Chapter 1940. Good place. Zheng Sang's heart skipped a beat. Lord, madam, rest assured. We understand the significance of this place and your intentions for it. We won't breathe a word of it to anyone. Initially, some members of the group hadn't grasped the gravity of the situation. However, upon Zheng Sang's reminder, they swiftly recognized the importance of secrecy and pledged their commitment to it. Xiao Yunduan nodded approvingly. As long as you keep that promise. While initially unsure of their plans, Xiao Yunduan couldn't ignore the potential of such a remarkable locale. It would be a waste not to capitalize on its possibilities. Xiao Xian's vision was clear and concise. Euro, developing the area into a ranch. Her proposal encompassed raising cattle, sheep and horses, while also creating ponds for ducks and geese. The prospect was tantalizingly promising. With its natural beauty, ample space, and concealed location, the area seemed tailor-made for such endeavors. Surrounded by mountains on three sides and with a narrow entrance, its defenses were formidable. Their brief sojourn by the lake only heightened their curiosity, fueling their eagerness to explore every corner of the basin and unlock its full potential. As the day waned, the sun's rays softened, casting gentle hues across the basin. Despite its vastness, the imposing shadows of distant mountains instilled a chill in the air. Sensing the encroaching dusk, the group quickened their pace. Before long, they noticed wisps of rising water vapor, accompanied by a noticeable rise in temperature. Puzzled yet intrigued, they exchanged speculative glances. Zheng Sang's sudden revelation broke the silence. Could that be a hot spring up ahead? It would explain the warmth, especially in winter. Wu Guan's eyes widened in realization. It seems likely. But the intensity of the steamy Euro, this must be an exceptionally large hot spring. I've never seen anything like it. Indeed, echoed the others in agreement. Those unfamiliar with hot springs, like Lu Fu, Qiao Qiao, and the rest, bombarded Wu Guan with questions, eager to comprehend this natural phenomenon. As Wu Guan elucidated, their eyes widened in astonishment, their anticipation for what lay ahead heightened. The idea of naturally heated spring water bubbling up from the earth without the need for firewood seemed almost magical. With laughter and excitement, they hastened their steps toward the basin's end. True to their expectations, a vast hot spring awaited them, enveloped in swirling steam. The warm vapor caressed their faces, inducing a sense of relaxation and tranquility. Confronted with such a welcoming sight amid winter's chill, none could resist the allure of warmth. As they crouched beside the water, Qiao Qiao and the others eagerly dipped their hands in, exclaiming in delight, "Wow, it's really hot! So comforting and magical! What a marvelous discovery! It's incredibly convenient." Their spirits lifted. They settled into comfortable spots to wash their hands and faces. Xiao Xian issued a cautionary reminder, advising everyone to test the water's temperature beforehand to avoid any burns. Some sections were as scalding as boiling water, posing a risk of injury. Even Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan indulged in the ritual of cleansing their hands. Tempted by the natural hot spring, Xiao Xian entertained the notion of taking a bath. However, given the circumstances, it was clearly impractical. It wouldn't be appropriate for her as the prefect's wife to partake in such a leisurely activity in the wilderness, especially with so many subordinates present. Such behavior would be deemed impolite and improper. Regrettably, she had to resign herself to the reality of the situation. Chapter 1941. Build a hot spring villa. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but noticed his wife's contemplative gaze fixed on the hot spring water. He knew what she was thinking, and he found himself entertaining similar thoughts. Approaching Qiao Xian with a smile, he suggested, "Dear, how about we establish a hot spring villa here? It's not far from An City, and we could spend a few days here." Qiao Xian's smile mirrored his own. "I was just about to suggest the same thing. Building a hot spring villa here wouldn't be too complicated euro. Just a wooden house would suffice. Beyond this basin lies the ancient forest, teeming with resources. Even without venturing out, we have lakes, rivers, and abundant prey right here." Xiao Yunduan nodded in agreement. "Come spring, when the weather warms up, we'll arrange for its construction." Excitedly, Qiao Xian added, "We'll design the villa to incorporate the hot spring directly." "Perfect." Their eyes met, brimming with shared enthusiasm as they delved into planning. With nightfall approaching, preparations for dinner and lodging commenced. Zheng Sang, Wu Guan, and the others, well versed in the routine, required no instruction from Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian. Wu Guan led 2 individuals to scout for a suitable campsite, while Yi Mianmian, Xiao Qiao, and Lu Fu set about handling the prey. Some ventured to gather firewood, while others prepared a space for a bonfire and barbecue. Mianmian and the others set to work downstream of the hot spring, where the warm water made it convenient to remove fur and wash the prey without fear of freezing hands. Today's catch of wild pheasants, hares, wild ducks, and grouse was swiftly cleaned in the soothing warmth of the water. Meanwhile, Yi attended to the deer he had hunted, slicing the meat into pieces and threading them onto tree skewers. Once skewered, they sprinkled a mixture of seasonings over the meats, allowing them to marinate and enhance their flavor for the upcoming roast. The abundance of trees on the hillside provided an ample supply of dead branches, easily gathered for firewood. Returning with their finds, the group wasted no time in starting fires. With nearly 20 people present, 2 fires were lit, ensuring everyone could partake in the cooking process. As the flames crackled and danced, each person took charge of roasting their own skewered meat. Mianmian and Xiao Qiao, aware of Qiao Xian's preference for chicken wings, thoughtfully skewered 3 pairs for her. They also prepared marinated wild duck legs, wild chicken legs, and succulent skewers of deer suet. Knowing Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan might not finish them all, they ensured there was plenty to share with the group. Once the meat was roasted to perfection, Wu Guan and the others, who had ventured off to scout for a suitable campsite, returned. Their faces were alight with smiles, their excitement palpable. It was evident they had secured a favorable spot for the night. "Thanks to Lord and Madam," Wu Guan began, "we stumbled upon a cave atop a nearby hill. Upon inspection, we found it spacious and dry. Let's make camp there, and light a fire at the entrance for warmth." His announcement elicited cheers of gratitude from the group. "Indeed, thanks to Lord and Madam, we have a comfortable place to rest tonight." "No worries at all." Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan exchanged amused glances. They couldn't help but find the situation amusing. After all, they hadn't been the ones to discover the cave. Chapter 1942. Spending the night in the forest with a secure place for the night, the tension dissipated, and an air of relaxation settled over the group. Amidst lively conversation and laughter, the savory aroma of roasted meat wafted through the air, sizzling and crackling as it dripped onto the flames. Flipping the meat and adding seasoning, they continued to roast until the fragrance intensified, enticing all with its mouth-watering appeal. As the last morsels were savored and the sun dipped behind the mountains, they extinguished the bonfire and followed Wu Guan and the others back to the cave, carrying firewood for the night. Navigating the slope proved effortless, and soon they reached the cavern, spacious and dry as promised by Wu Guan's earlier assessment. With discussions underway, arrangements were made for night watch duty. A fire was kindled at the cave entrance, ensuring warmth and security throughout the night. As everyone settled in, Qiao Xian called for Li Xia, Mianmian, and Qiao Qiao to join her and Xiao Yunduan, carving out a space for their small group within the larger gathering. Xiao Xian nestled against Xiao Yunduan's embrace, engaging in quiet conversation with Mianmian before succumbing to fatigue. Today had been particularly taxing, and the excitement only added to her weariness. Cradled in her husband's arms, she felt a profound sense of security, drifting into slumber almost effortlessly. She stirred occasionally throughout the night, not due to the cold but rather the simplicity of their accommodations in the cave. As dawn broke, Xiao Xian roused from her rest, greeted by the sight of the brightening sky. A smile graced her lips as she met Xiao Yunduan's gaze, exchanging silent understanding. "It's already dawned so soon," she remarked. Xiao Yunduan returned her smile. "Indeed. Unlike home, we can rise with the sun here." Xiao Xian chuckled as she noticed the absence of others in the cavern. "Seems like everyone has already departed," she observed, a hint of bemusement in her tone. Their departure had been so discreet that she hadn't even noticed. Xiao Yunduan offered his hand to help Xiao Xian up, and as they exited the cave, she remarked with a smile, "I wonder if Anan slept well last night. He must have missed me. Let's head out now. Maybe we can make it back to An City tonight." Xiao Yunduan replied, "Anan is just a boy. There's no need to fuss. Children sleep well when they're tired, regardless of whether you're with them or not." Xiao Xian shot him a reproachful glance. "He's still young. You shouldn't speak about him so casually. You usually spoil him too." Xiao Yunduan simply smiled in response, saying nothing. As they approached the hot spring's edge, they spotted Mian Mian, Xiao Qiao, and the others laughing and playing in the water. It was their first encounter with the hot spring, and they seemed to be enjoying it immensely. Upon noticing Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan's arrival, they eagerly greeted them, ready to share their experiences. After a quick freshening up, Xiao Xian and the group headed to the spot where the bonfire had been roasted the night before. Not long after, Zheng Sang and the others returned one after another. The atmosphere was filled with jubilation as everyone recounted their gains from the expedition. The prey in this area proved to be exceptionally abundant and delectable. Despite the distant howls of wolves during the night, likely driven over the mountain to hunt, the lush vegetation still attracted numerous herbivores. Zheng Sang and his companions enjoyed a fruitful morning, resulting in a bountiful harvest of 10 deer, along with 20 to 30 pheasants, hares, wild ducks, and more. For breakfast, they roasted pheasants, wild rabbits, and other small game, savoring the fruits of their labor before preparing to depart. The deer they captured were notably robust, with one weighing in at 80 to 90 catties, and two especially plump specimens tipping the scales at over 100 catties each. Chapter 1943. Returning to the city, more than 10 individuals returned from their excursion, laden not only with the deer they had captured, but also with yesterday's harvest of Gastrodia elata and Ganoderma lucidum. Along the journey, they also managed to casually hunt a few wild rabbits and pheasants, returning with a bounty of game. The journey had been considerable, justifying the acquisition of such prey. Despite widespread envy, others could only resign themselves to this reality. By noon, the returning party reached the village where they had been staying. Deer hunting in the forest was a rare feat, even for the most seasoned hunters who hesitated to venture too deeply into its depths. The return of Xiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, and their companions with such a remarkable haul left the entire village in awe. Almost the entirety of the village flocked to the land officer's residence to witness the spectacle. Excited children dashed around, exclaiming, "Look at the big deer! Look at the big deer!" They eagerly squeezed in, their envy palpable. One of the village's landlords even inquired if they were willing to sell the deer. However, selling was out of the question. The effort to acquire them had been considerable, and there were only 10 deer to share among them. Only those of notable stature could claim a portion, leaving the rest disappointed. The landlord was eager to purchase a deer by any means possible, but faced with their refusal, could only reluctantly abandon the idea. Ordinarily, a landlord might resort to raising the price or employing threats, but Xiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, and their companions seemed formidable and not easily swayed. Hence the landlord dared not provoke them. In a gesture of gratitude, Xiao Xian and the others gifted a pheasant and a wild rabbit to the land officer's family, sharing a modest meal before departing for An's province. Although they had already settled their accommodations with the land officer's family, the added gifts brought joy to their hosts, who bid them farewell with smiles. As night fell, Xiao Xian and company returned to the state office. After freshening up and changing out of their travel-worn attire, Xiao Xian went to check on her son. Children often seek reassurance from their mothers, particularly in the darkness of night. The little girl's muffled cries for mom prompted relief and happiness among Nanny and the others when Xiao Xian arrived. The little guy was so happy that he screamed and threw himself at Xiao Xian, almost falling off the bed. The nanny, Kaiyun, and the others eagerly reached out to embrace him. The little one showed no fear, only giggles. Xiao Xian chuckled, scooping the child into her arms and peppering his face with kisses. "How dare you? My sweetie, do you miss me?" The little girl giggled and snuggled closer to Xiao Xian, her laughter melting Xiao Xian's heart. As Xiao Yunduan approached, he beheld the tender scene of mother and daughter embracing and couldn't help but smile, his eyes soft with affection. The successful hunt brought joy to all. Servants from the east courtyard gathered excitedly, chatting and pointing as they marveled at the sight of the wild deer. Although they couldn't feast on it, the novelty alone was worth the spectacle. The comfort of the lavish bed and soft pillows ensured everyone enjoyed a restful night's sleep. The following day, Xiao Xian made the decision to divide the spoils. She and Xiao Yunduan retained 3 deer, 2 pheasants, 2 wild rabbits, and 2 wild ducks for themselves. Meanwhile, Zheng Sang and Wu Guan divided 4 deer, along with 8 pheasants, wild rabbits, and wild ducks among them. Yi and the others received 1 deer, 1 pheasant, 1 wild rabbit, and 1 wild duck each, with the remainder distributed among Hang Xingshan, Sun Bai, and Sun Qian. Chapter 1944. Lord Xiao's luck. The outcome was deemed fair by all, with no disputes over the distribution. Lord and Madam received only a small portion, ensuring most of the spoils were shared among everyone else. There was little else to be said. Furthermore, the discovery of such a fruitful hunting ground meant they could return for more in the future. Xiao Xian and the others generously provided a portion to the servants, allowing each of them to enjoy a few bites. However, Li Xia, Songshi, and the other stewards were excluded from this share. Instead, Deputy Prefect Jia, along with Li Xia and Songshi, received 2 portions. Regrettably, none of the remaining scribes received any portion. With half of the spoils remaining, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were left with a manageable amount, aided by the cold weather allowing for preservation of the sutras, pheasants, rabbits, and wild ducks. The fresh and succulent venison was processed into meat paste and used to cook porridge, pleasing Anan as well. It had been quite some time since Xiao Xian had tasted such fresh venison. From roasted to stir-fried, grilled to stewed, the meat was prepared in various delectable ways, culminating in a splendid feast. On a whim, Lord Xiao decided to take his wife hunting, and it was only after they returned with a full load that news of their excursion spread throughout An City. Families in the area couldn't help but marvel at their luck. Despite An's province's mountainous terrain teeming with prey, Lord Xiao seemed unusually fortunate. Their destination was Mealy Town, and considering the time spent en route, it was evident they wasted no time delving into the mountains for the hunt. Remarkably, they managed to capture 10 deer. While the smaller prey they caught weren't included in the count, their achievement was nonetheless impressive. With only 18 individuals in their party, and considering that Lord Xiao, Madam Xiao, and the younger children and maids lacked hunting prowess, it was quite extraordinary for a group of 12 or 13 people to secure 10 fat deer in such a short span. Their strength and luck were truly commendable. While they occasionally ventured into the mountains for recreational hunting, they never ventured too deep. They had never personally hunted deer before, let alone laid eyes on one. However, there were skilled hunters who captured and sold deer in the area. Admittedly, it wasn't a common occurrence. This was largely due to the elusive nature of deer herds, which typically avoided areas frequented by humans. They were swift and vigilant creatures, making them challenging to hunt. The return of Lord Xiao with such a bountiful harvest left everyone in awe. His luck and fortune were undeniable, prompting a collective sigh of admiration. It seemed one would fare well to align themselves with Lord Xiao, fostering honesty and cooperation for future endeavors. Amidst these reflections, it became evident that the weight of New Year gifts would significantly increase. As the New Year approached, families vied to send lavish offerings to the prefectural yamen, adhering to tradition. Xiao Xian, in her role, accepted these gifts graciously and prepared suitable returns, keeping herself busy in the process. Some of the offerings were notably extravagant, prompting Xiao Xian to find justification swiftly. Given her husband's recent achievements in subduing bandits and assuming control of a region, it made sense for the attention lavished upon him. In any case, as everyone participated in the customary exchange of gifts for the new year, Qiao Xian reciprocated accordingly, ensuring she could afford to do so. Before they knew it, the 48th year of Qi Xian had arrived. Although Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had not managed to reunite with Shouting Village, they found solace in the company of many friends in Ainan, creating their own small reunion. Chapter 1945. Another banquet in An's province. The realization that their hometown was within easy reach, just a few days' journey away, brought a sense of closeness that narrowed the perceived distance in their hearts. No longer did they feel the overwhelming loneliness of being isolated at the edge of the world. Instead, they found solace in this newfound proximity. This sense of ease was palpable, offering genuine comfort to their hearts. As parents, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan found themselves immersed in numerous social engagements during the Spring Festival, leaving them with little free time. Fortunately, no affluent family in An's province dared to challenge the authority of Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Consequently, Qiao Xian was finally able to relish the happiness of being the wife of a local government official. While Qiao Xian harbored no grudges from the past, first Madame Fan extended an invitation for her to attend a banquet. With a gracious smile, Qiao Xian accepted, despite her lingering aversion toward the Fan family. As the wife of the prefect, she understood the importance of maintaining decorum, and refrained from letting personal preferences dictate her social interactions. Remarkably, the once influential Fan family now adopted a more subdued approach. While they traditionally hosted the first spring banquet, this year they chose to schedule it for the 12th of the first month, almost at the conclusion of the Spring Festival. The scale of the banquet hosted by the Fan clan this year was notably smaller compared to previous years. In truth, the Fan family was currently in a state of embarrassment and humility. The prospect of hosting a banquet seemed daunting, given the stark contrast in their status. They would feel ashamed even if they attempted to treat their guests lavishly. Nevertheless, they had no choice but to extend an invitation to Lord Xiao. The consequences of not inviting him would only compound their embarrassment further, as rumors and speculations from outsiders would likely exacerbate their predicament. Fortunately, Qiao Xian found no reason to decline the invitation, demonstrating her willingness to visit, much to the relief of the two patriarchs and the two matriarchs of the Fan family. Madame Xiao's visit signaled Lord Xiao's leniency toward the Fan family and the bandits. Despite this, the Fan clan remained cautious, maintaining a low profile. When Qiao Xian arrived as the prefect's wife, it was expected that Old Lady Fan would personally welcome her and extend polite greetings, demonstrating the Fan family's sincerity. However, due to her advanced age, Old Lady Fan hesitated to subject herself to such discomfort. Instead, she chose to remain secluded within her courtyard, feigning illness as an excuse to avoid the social interaction. Fan Ruyan likewise struggled with the situation. Despite her reluctance to lower her status in front of Qiao Xian, her daughter persistently urged her to reconcile with Madame Xiao to secure her attendance at the banquet. Unable to dissuade her daughter, Fan Ruyan had no choice but to agree. Bai Ruerui took great care in preparing for the occasion, meticulously selecting attire and jewelry, while inquiring about Qiao Xian's preferences, as well as those of her maids. This gesture both pained and gratified Fan Ruyan. While she couldn't shake the remorse for past events that had led to her daughter's suffering, she found solace in Bai Ruerui's maturity and willingness to shoulder the family's burdens. On the day of the Fan family's banquet, Qiao Xian, as customary, invited Mrs. Jia to accompany them. Upon their arrival, the women of the Fan family and the early arriving guests eagerly went out to welcome them. The two matriarchs of the Fan family greeted them with careful smiles as they all proceeded into the reception hall and took their seats. As pleasantries were exchanged, gifts were presented, and tea was served by the Fan family's maids, the atmosphere gradually warmed with laughter and conversation. However, Fan Ruyan remained reticent throughout the proceedings, fearful that speaking might lead to an outburst of anger towards Qiao Xian. It was a struggle she couldn't avoid, as her emotions threatened to overwhelm her. Thus she chose silence as her refuge. Chapter 1946. Puzzlement. Fan Ruyan. visibly distressed on the sidelines, harbored such intense disdain for Qiao Xian that she found herself continuously mocking and mentally rebuffing her throughout the event. In stark contrast, Bai Ruirui's concern for Qiao Xian was palpable. Despite her junior status, she couldn't help but keep a watchful eye on Qiao Xian, occasionally stealing glances that puzzled those around her. However, her gaze was devoid of hostility. Qiao Xian, with her keen intuition, eventually sensed Bai Ruirui's genuine concern. Initially oblivious, she soon recognized the sincerity behind the younger woman's actions. This unexpected behavior left Qiao Xian perplexed. She never imagined that Fan Ruiyan's daughter would harbor a desire to befriend her. Uncertain of the mother and daughter's motives, Qiao Xian couldn't shake the feeling of apprehension. However, the prospect of Fan Ruiyan reforming her ways instilled a sense of cautious hope. Despite her skepticism, Qiao Xian found solace in the notion that Fan Ruiyan was at least fearful. In her eyes, that fear served as a deterrent, ensuring that the event proceeded without incident. As the day came to a close, and the Fan family bid farewell to Qiao Xian without any disruption, a sense of relief washed over the two matriarchs, finally allowing them to exhale the tension that had plagued them throughout the gathering. After bidding farewell to the guests, the two matriarchs finally allowed themselves to relax, feeling deeply exhausted yet satisfied with the successful outcome of the event. However, second Mrs. Fan didn't immediately retire to her courtyard for rest. Instead, she sought out her sister-in-law to discuss the day's events. She couldn't help but express her confusion, remarking, "Today was quite intriguing, wasn't it? Despite our sister-in-law refraining from causing trouble after being taught a lesson, I can't quite fathom Ruirui's behavior. In the past, she was always in cahoots with her mother, singing praises to old Lady Fan. But today, she seized the opportunity to cozy up to Madame Xiao and shower her with flattery. It's as if the sun is rising from the west." Second Mrs. Fan continued, "And did you notice her attire? Normally, she prefers flashy and ostentatious outfits adorned with gold and silver embellishments. Yet today, she exuded a much more refined and elegant aura, especially with those striking snow-green embroidered chrysanthemums." First Madame Fan furrowed her brow, equally perplexed by Ruirui's sudden change in behavior. After pondering for a moment, she offered a tentative explanation. "Perhaps this is just a phase of adolescence. Given the recent upheavals in the family, it's possible that Ruirui has undergone some internal changes. From what I observed, she seems to possess a bit more resilience than her mother." Second Mrs. Fan scoffed, "I hope you're right. If that mother and son duo continues their scheming, our family will truly be in dire straits. No one can endure being tormented repeatedly. In my opinion, even if that girl is frightened, there's no need for her to ingratiate herself with Madame Xiao. It's better to keep her distance from Madame Xiao and the state government altogether. That's the safest course of action." Second Mrs. Fan's fear was palpable. After all, Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao had dealt with such formidable mountain bandits. What weight did the Fan family carry in comparison? It was almost laughable. Thanks to that self-righteous woman's actions, they had no real rapport with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Despite attempting to move past previous conflicts, they remained marginalized compared to other families. Therefore, it was deemed fortunate to maintain a considerable distance from them, ensuring a stable life with no concerns about sustenance, while safeguarding their existing industries. Chapter 1947. Interrogation. Restoring the prosperity of the past, at least for the next few years, seemed impossible. Second Mrs. Fan acknowledged this reality with a pragmatic outlook, harboring little attachment to past glories. As the wife of First Madame Fan, she was perhaps even less willing to accept this truth, yet she could bear it. She begrudgingly admitted its validity. But when it came to Fan Ruiyan and her daughter Euro, First Madame Fan pondered for a moment before deciding, "I will speak with them." Second Mrs. Fan nodded in agreement. "That's right, sister-in-law. Don't forget." Once Second Mrs. Fan departed, First Madame Fan remained seated, quietly sipping her tea. After a while, she set down her cup and summoned someone. Then, she proceeded to the courtyard where Fan Ruiyan and Bo Ruirui resided. First Madame Fan chose her words carefully. Fan Ruiyan couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. What had she done to deserve this reprimand? Was it her conduct at the banquet today? Was her sister-in-law intentionally causing her trouble? Unable to contain her frustration, Fan Ruyan lashed out, venting her pent-up emotions. Feeling aggrieved and infuriated, she physically assaulted First Madam Fan. First Madam Fan's expression darkened as she responded with icy composure. I was merely offering a friendly reminder. We can't afford any more trouble for our family. Madam Xiao's presence at today's banquet and its smooth proceedings are hard-won. Am I wrong to remind you of this? Fan Ruyan sneered. Sister-in-law, you're underestimating me. Do you really believe I would cause trouble? Would I harm my own family? Remember, this is my family too. First Madam Fan initially refrained from addressing Fan Ruyan directly, focusing instead on the matter at hand. However, she couldn't ignore Fan Ruyan's insinuations. Nevertheless, she chose not to engage further. Instead, she cast a meaningful glance at Bararui and remarked, Don't dwell on it too much, sister. I'm not one to stir up trouble without cause. I have my own reasons for being here. It's unusual for me to visit Madame Xiao when I have free time. Naturally, I'm curious. It's only natural for me to inquire more. Fan Ruyan, absorbed in her grievances towards Qiao Xian, failed to notice the subtleties of the exchange. Upon reflection, however, she began to see the validity of First Madam Fan's words. Bai Ruerue was taken aback, feeling a bit flustered by the sudden attention. However, she was not one to back down easily. Blushing slightly, she retorted, Eldest aunt, what are you implying? Our family is hosting this event, so what's wrong with me speaking a few words? How can you suggest otherwise? Fan Ruyan chimed in. Exactly. Ruerue is also contributing to the family. She's merely being courteous to Madame Xiao. Are you not satisfied with that? First Madame Fan remained firm, stating, There's no need for flattery. I've made my intentions clear. I am well aware of my actions. Ruerue has always had a penchant for vibrant and elegant attire, and her choice of accessories is always eye-catching. Today, she appears particularly refined and graceful. I just wonder who she's dressing up for. Chapter 1948. Fooled by Ruerue's heart raced as she felt a surge of guilt wash over her. Eldest aunt, why do you always have to criticize me for my choice of attire? Can't I wear something delicate and elegant like this dress? First Madam Fan scoffed. I never said that. With those words, she rose from her seat and departed, leaving Bai Ruerue muttering to herself. When she glanced up, she was startled to find her mother's unwavering gaze fixed upon her. She attempted a forced smile. Mothra Euro Fan Ruyan furrowed her brows, scrutinizing her daughter. Be honest with me. What's troubling you today? I didn't Euro. Ruerue, I am your mother. Fan Ruyan's tone carried a hint of displeasure. You can't deceive me. I know you harbor disdain for Miss Qiao, so why pretend? The sight of her own daughter fawning over Qiao Xian right in front of her left her deeply unsettled. If only she could turn back time and intervene before things escalated. Bai Ruerue slowly lowered her head, her delicate fingers fidgeting with her clothes nervously. Despite Fan Ruyan's persistent inquiries, Bai Ruerue stuck to her story, insisting she feared reprisal from Madame Xiao, and thus sought to curry favor with Hera Euro though skeptical. Fan Ruyan found her daughter's distress genuine. No matter how hard she pressed, Bai Ruerue remained steadfast, on the verge of tears. Reluctantly, Fan Ruyan had no choice but to accept her explanation. She couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for Bai Ruerue. She chastised Hera Euro. After all, the Fan family hadn't reached such dire straits yet. There was no need for a young girl like her to sacrifice herself. Her mother and grandmother would shield her. She couldn't afford to be so naive. In the Futuria Euro, Bai Ruerue found solace in Fan Ruyan's embrace. Her voice sounded strained as she hummed, her eyes reflecting profound thoughts. No one could decipher her inner turmoil. As the prefect, Xiao Yunduan abstained from attending banquets, but he remained occupied throughout the spring festival. He busied himself with visits to esteemed families and hosting gatherings to honor erudite Confucian scholars from across the land. One such event was organized to welcome Jia Hemming and other officials, providing them solace amidst their duties. Jia Hemming, in his capacity as deputy prefect, reciprocated, extending the festivities for another day. Furthermore, Xiao Yunduan engaged in discussions with heads of prominent families to chart the development course for An's province. His schedule left him with scarce leisure time throughout the entire festival. While Xiao Yunduan had no intention of attending banquets hosted separately by the Mei and Hua families, they jointly arranged a gathering. Their motives were threefold: to reciprocate hospitality, to celebrate the advent of spring, and to express gratitude to the prefect for bringing peace and prosperity to An's province. Thus, Xiao Yunduan had to acquiesce, granting them due respect. Coincidentally, on the 12th day of the first lunar month, the prominent family clans secured the services of the renowned Cool Breeze Gang in An's province and extended an invitation to Xiao Yunduan. As they ventured out that day, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were in each other's company until they diverged along the way. However, Xiao Xian returned at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, prompting Xiao Yunduan's concern that the revelry might continue late into the night. While Xiao Yunduan occasionally attended such gatherings back in the capital, it was a rare occurrence for him here, marking his first attendance. At dinner, Xiao Xian found herself dining alone, with Anan occupied elsewhere. Perhaps due to the prolonged absence of family meals, Xiao Xian experienced a sudden emptiness in her heart. Reflecting calmly, she realized the irrationality of her worries and broke into a smile. She was letting her fears get the best of Harayuro, fearing that her husband might succumb to temptation and veer off the righteous path. Chapter 1949. Thoughts. He wasn't a naive, easily swayed individual. How could he succumb to others' advances so readily? Moreover, as the prefect, he held a position of authority and prestige. His circumstances had changed since his time in the Capitale. Few would dare to plot against him so brazenly. As she pondered this, Xiao Xian found herself growing more reassured. But then another thought crept in upon further reflection. She realized that her husband's current status as the prefect brought with it a host of individuals seeking to gain his favor. It wasn't quite the same as their life in the capital. Back then, despite his reputation, he held a modest rank as a fifth-grade official, attracting little attention from those seeking to ingratiate themselves. But now, in An's province, he was the authority figure, the one everyone sought to impress. And in his efforts to win her favor, he undoubtedly bestowed upon her various benefits: gold, silver, jewels, fertile lands, and perhaps even the attention of other admirers. Yes, Xiao Xian finally grasped the source of her unease. With a soft sigh and a smile, she anticipated what lay ahead. She also couldn't help but wonder if her suspicions were correct. Undoubtedly, Xiao Yunduan must have attracted quite a bit of attention from the women at the banquet today. The New Year's festivities presented an ideal opportunity for individuals to cozy up to Lord Xiao, a temptation that had lured many before the arrival of the new year. Lord Xiao had no concubines, and his affections were solely reserved for Madame Xiao. With the young master still in his tender years, Madame Xiao bore the responsibilities of both child-rearing and household management, in addition to navigating social obligations. Her plate was undoubtedly full, leaving little room for her husband's personal care. Considering this, it seemed only logical that Lord Xiao would benefit from the presence of a sensible and considerate companion. Indeed, anyone capable of presenting Lord Xiao with a suitable partner stood to gain considerable influence in the future of An's province. Lord Xiao's capabilities were such that aligning oneself with him promised prosperity and success. However, the task of providing Lord Xiao with a companion he truly admired was no simple feat. Lord Xiao wasn't a man of base desires. He was a distinguished scholar hailing from the most flourishing capital in the world. Prior to his relocation, he enjoyed considerable favor even within the prince's circle, suggesting he had encountered his fair share of captivating individuals. So, how could an ordinary beauty capture his attention? This woman would need to possess youth, beauty, intelligence, talent, empathy, gentleness, and consideration at the very least. She would need to exude an allure so captivating, so enchanting, that Lord Xiao couldn't help but be drawn to her. In essence, finding such a person was no small feat, but there were always those willing to take up the challenge. For instance, today an affluent gentleman surnamed Zhuang went to great lengths to procure a clever and youthful maiden named Lu Ji from Jiangnan. While inebriated, he entertained the notion of presenting her to Lord Xiao. As for the entertainment arranged for today's festivities, the singers and dancers had been meticulously chosen and rehearsed well in advance. Many of these talents were specially imported from overseas before the onset of the new year. The elite families of An's prefecture spared no expense in their preparations for the banquet. Commencing at noon, the banquet commenced with guests seated amidst the soft strains of music, engaging in jovial conversation and laughter. The ambience was vibrant and convivial. Meanwhile, the gentlemen congregated, indulging in food, drink, and musical merriment. Before long, they found themselves unwinding as they engaged in animated discourse. Chapter 1950. Dance. Xiao Yunduan wasn't particularly fond of these social gatherings, but he understood their necessity and prevalence. He wouldn't display any displeasure or rebuke simply because he didn't enjoy them. He knew he had to put on a good show and navigate through the day. As the wine flowed and the dishes circulated, the atmosphere grew even more buoyant. Conversations grew livelier, with some attempting to introduce risque humor into the mix. Observing Xiao Yunduan's disapproving frown, they promptly ceased their inappropriate banter. Following the main course, the table was cleared, making way for an array of exquisite fruits, snacks, fragrant teas, and fine wines. The temporary stage, though devoid of any ambiguity, hosted a spirited performance, adding to the festivities. Despite having listened to performances all afternoon and dining well into the night, the excitement persisted. Throughout the event, Xiao Yunduan received compliments and toasts from those around him. He handled them with grace, neither overly affable nor aloof, maintaining a perfect balance that allowed no one to overstep their boundaries while leaving no room for criticism. Feeling weary of the social obligations inside, Xiao Yunduan sought respite by stepping outside for a while. The Cool Breeze Gang, renowned as the most opulent eatery in An's prefecture city, boasted a charming back garden, small yet exquisitely designed. Given its limited space, the garden featured potted flowers of various varieties arranged according to their blooming seasons. Plum blossoms, camellias, azaleas, and more adorned the landscape, their vibrant hues complementing the surrounding rockery, sweet osmanthus, bamboo, and picturesque pines. Nestled in one corner stood a quaint pavilion, encircled by water on three sides with a lively pond housing koi and other fish, adding a touch of whimsy to the scene. As Xiao Yunduan strolled amidst the garden's splendor, he unexpectedly encountered the second old master of the Mei family. Engaging in brief conversation, they were soon joined by others, their camaraderie leading them back indoors to enjoy the ongoing performance. As the afternoon progressed, the sun began its descent toward the western horizon, casting a golden glow over the surroundings. Gathering once more, the guests accompanied Xiao Yunduan for a leisurely walk through the garden, exchanging laughter and conversation. With dusk approaching, they eventually returned indoors, ready to continue the festivities. The evening banquet presented a marked contrast to the daytime affairs. Arranged in a traditional manner, the seating was organized with a prominent central seat flanked by 2 rows on each side, leaving an open space in the middle. Adorning the center was an exquisite flower carpet, while sumptuous dishes were served with meticulous care. As the toasts began, the musicians in the corner struck up a melodious tune, heralding the arrival of a troupe of dancers clad in alluring attire. With towering elegance and snow-white complexions, they captivated the audience with their mesmerizing performance. Leading the ensemble was a veiled figure, her eyes gleaming like autumn water, her waist swaying with graceful fluidity as she sang with dulcet tones. The spectators were instantly enthralled, their eyes alight with admiration and whispered praises. In particular, the leader of the dancers drew the gaze of nearly everyone present, her beauty both enchanting and mysterious, beckoning with irresistible allure. The song she sang seemed to resonate with the very essence of nature, its gentle melody teasing at the heartstrings of all who listened. Each verse seemed to caress the soul, leaving behind a lingering warmth and a tantalizing itch that could not be ignored. And yet, the veil shrouding her features only served to heighten the anticipation, fueling desires to unveil her true visage. As the final notes echoed through the hall, the audience erupted into thunderous applause and cheers, their fervor such that they wished to shower the beauty with silver and gold, if only to catch a glimpse of her unveiled face. Chapter 1951. Miss Luji. Nevertheless, nobody was naive. They all understood that this exquisite beauty had been specifically arranged for Lord Xiao. They seized the opportunity to revel in the performance, shamelessly stealing more than a few glances. After today, they knew they wouldn't have the chance again. Such a captivating figure, alluring dance moves, enchanting eyes, and mellifluous voice truly epitomized supreme-grade beauty. Those who laid eyes on her couldn't help but feel their pulses quicken, and their hearts stir. Lord Xiao was no exception. He was a man after all. It was only natural for him to desire such a treasure that had practically been delivered to his doorstep. Considering it would come at no cost to him, why wouldn't he desire it? To pass up such a blessing would be sheer folly. Consequently, everyone assumed that this beauty belonged to Xiao Yunduan, and they lavished praise upon her accordingly. Absolutely stunning. Such a song belongs only in the heavens. It's truly magnificent. And that dance, it's beyond compare. I've never witnessed anything like it before. A beauty capable of toppling kingdoms. Such rarity. We owe it all to Lord Xiao. Ah, indeed, it's all thanks to Lord Xiao. Without him, we wouldn't have had the pleasure of experiencing such a marvelous performance. That's right, haha. Xiao Yunduan heard everything and frowned slightly. He took it as a joke and did not say anything more. Unexpectedly, when the dance ended and everyone applauded, old Master Zhuang said with a smile, "Miss Luji's song and dance is really amazing. If it weren't for Lord Xiao, there wouldn't be peace in An's prefecture. It's all thanks to Lord Xiao that we can enjoy the song and dance banquet here in peace. We should thank Lord Xiao for his kindness. Miss Luji, why don't you toast Lord Xiao on our behalf?" Everyone cheered loudly, clapping and laughing. Yes, that's how it should be. Yes, it's all thanks to Lord Xiao. Miss Luji, please have a toast to Lord Xiao. A few more toasts. True. Miss Luji still had not taken off her veil, but she smiled at Xiao Yunduan with a charming smile. She raised her hand and walked towards Xiao Yunduan with the small white jade wine glass in her hand. The cloud-like dress brought with it a faint, elegant fragrance, making one feel relaxed and happy. As the captivating fragrance wafted through the air, many couldn't resist leaning in to catch a whiff, though they made sure not to betray their inner desires too overtly, lest they reveal their less than admirable intentions. Seating herself gracefully beside Xiao Yunduan, Luji extended her glass to him, taking the opportunity to draw closer. Lord however, Xiao Yunduan deftly sidestepped her advance, gently pushing her back with a furrowed brow. "I've had my fill of wine today, so it'll pass. Instead, why don't you grace us with another performance, Miss Luji? I'm sure everyone here would love to see it." Though Xiao Yunduan would have preferred to excuse himself from the situation, he recognized the importance of maintaining cordial relations with the influential families of An's prefecture for the region's development. Regardless of the intentions behind the offer of such a beauty, he couldn't bring himself to accept it. He wouldn't even entertain the idea of touching her. Unaware of her upbringing or background, he could only perceive her as tainted. Chapter 1952. Decline. Luji was momentarily stunned, feeling a wave of unease wash over her as she persisted in clinging to Xiao Yunduan. Lord however, Xiao Yunduan swiftly evaded her, fixing her with a cold stare that seemed to erect an invisible barrier, freezing her in place, rendering her unable to move. Raising his hand with a feigned gentleness in his tone and expression, Xiao Yunduan delivered a chilling command. "Miss Luji, please depart." Luji stood frozen, unable to utter a word. The onlookers were equally taken aback. Many of the more observant individuals noted Xiao Yunduan's clear lack of interest in Miss Luji. He hadn't even attempted to take advantage of the situation. They couldn't believe it. With Miss Luji's undeniable allure, her figure, her charm, her alluring gaze, her melodic voice, surely she must be a beauty worthy of Lord Xiao's attention, given old Master Zhuang's boldness in offering her. If even Lord Xiao wasn't enticed by such a woman, then who else could possibly win his favor? Despite this, many remained hopeful, anticipating that old Master Zhuang's bold move might inspire others to vie for Lord Xiao's favor in the future, each seeking their own share of the spoils. For any man with means and status, the prospect of possessing numerous beauties was an enticing one. However, If Lord Xiao rejected such a supreme-grade woman, where could one possibly find a better match? Xiao Yunduan's decisive action shattered the illusions of many present. While those less perceptive individuals who remained enchanted by Miss Lu Ji's allure initially expressed their delight upon hearing Xiao Yunduan's words, applauding and cheering for his decision, others praised his integrity and magnanimity. Xiao Yunduan's smile served as a tacit confirmation of their sentiments. Without hesitation, Qin Yan promptly escorted Miss Lu Ji away from Xiao Yunduan's vicinity. Though reluctant to relinquish the wine glass in her hand, Miss Lu Ji maintained a facade of compliance, suggesting, "How could I defy Lord Xiao's wishes? Perhaps you could enjoy this glass of wine first. Afterwards, I'll treat you and the esteemed gentleman to another round of song and dance." The crowd erupted into cheers at her offer. Yet before Miss Lu Ji could attempt to sidle up to Xiao Yunduan once more, Qin Yan swiftly intercepted, relieving her of the white jade wine glass with a genial smile. "Miss Lu Ji, please. The esteemed gentlemen are eagerly anticipating your performance." Embarrassed by the sudden turn of events, Miss Lu Ji glanced up at Xiao Yunduan with pleading eyes, but his impassive expression provided no solace. It was clear that Xiao Yunduan endorsed Qin Yan's directive. Observing Xiao Yunduan's apparent disinterest, Miss Lu Ji reluctantly swallowed her frustration. Deciphering the situation with practiced acumen, she opted to take a step back, offering Xiao Yunduan a placid smile before resuming her performance for the audience. Xiao Yunduan's aloof demeanor only served to stoke Miss Lu Ji's competitive spirit. Having heard that Lord Xiao had only one wife, who happened to hold the esteemed position of primus, Miss Lu Ji's curiosity about him had been piqued. Now, witnessing Lord Xiao's undeniable charm firsthand, her interest intensified. She hadn't anticipated Lord Xiao's remarkable presence, nor had she anticipated the lascivious and repugnant behavior of the crass old masters. Yet, despite this, her resolve to captivate him remained unwavering. Chapter 1953. Conceited, she exuded confidence in her beauty, intellect, and talents, proficient in music, chess, calligraphy, painting, and the art of song and dance alike. Such multifaceted abilities were a testament to her capabilities. She couldn't fathom the idea of being overlooked, particularly by someone of Lord Xiao's stature. The notion of capturing Lord Xiao's attention was exhilarating. She had a gut feeling that if she could sway him, he would become her protector, offering her the stability she yearned for in life. Miss Lu Ji remained undeterred by Xiao Yunduan's initial indifference. On the contrary, she intensified her efforts, pouring herself into her performances, occasionally casting affectionate glances towards Xiao Yunduan. Her displays garnered admiration from the inebriated old masters, eliciting boisterous applause and laughter. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan maintained his composed demeanor, silently enduring the spectacle. Such composure was necessary for a local official. As the performance concluded, before Miss Lu Ji or Old Master Zhuang could speak, Qin Yan interjected. "Miss Lu Ji, your performance was exceptional. Lord Xiao wishes to reward you with 100 taels of silver. Please come forward to receive your well-deserved reward." Receiving 100 taels of silver was no trifling matter. Yet Miss Lu Ji found herself grappling with the gravity of the situation. Wasn't this precisely what she had desired? "Thank you graciously for your generosity, Lord. Your esteemed regard overwhelms me. May I be permitted to remain and attend to your wine?" Lu Ji's voice was soft and reverent as she inclined her form towards Xiao Yunduan. Her slender frame exuded an air of graceful desperation, amplifying her plea. Her eyes, brimming with timid adoration, coupled with her tender tone, bespoke volumes of admiration. Such a display of charm would render any man vulnerable to her allure, imbuing him with a sense of pride and assurance. As the crowd erupted in cheers, laughter, and applause, Lu Ji's bashfulness swelled into fervent passion, propelling her towards Xiao Yunduan with a determined stride. "No need," Xiao Yunduan interjected calmly. "I am not accustomed to close company. Miss Lu Ji, if you're not fatigued, why not grace us with another song and dance? I believe everyone here enjoys your performance." Lu Ji's equilibrium wavered, nearly causing her to stumble. This was unexpected. After expending herself in 2 rigorous performances, she found herself slightly breathless and drenched in perspiration. How could she muster the strength for an encore? To falter now and risk humiliation before Himeyuro? How could she endure it? Old Master Zhuang appeared poised to interject, but a meaningful glance from First Old Master Mei prompted him to reconsider. Clearing his throat, Old Master Zhuang attempted to diffuse the tension. Given Lord Xiao's preferences, Miss Lu Ji, perhaps it's best to graciously withdraw. There will be ample opportunities for performances in the future, ha ha ha. Xiao Yunduan offered no rebuttal, seemingly disinclined to engage in debate. This wasn't the appropriate time for such discourse. As for whether Old Master Zhuang's remarks held any hidden implications, Xiao Yunduan remained indifferent. There was no need to read too deeply into it, as nobody held sway over him with mere words. Observing Xiao Yunduan's lack of objection, Lu Ji's enthusiasm surged. She offered another shy smile and a respectful bow before Xiao Yunduan, her gaze lingering momentarily before she gracefully took her leave. Perhaps Xiao Yunduan was simply uncomfortable with public displays of affection? Lu Ji had encountered such individuals before, so this behavior didn't strike her as unusual. With this thought in mind, Lu Ji's confidence swelled even further. Following Lu Ji's departure, the festivities continued with additional performances of song and dance. While these displays were commendable, showcasing a bevy of talented beauties, none quite matched the captivating allure of Lu Ji. Chapter 1954. Berating. With this incident unfolding, the atmosphere among the attendees grew noticeably strained. Approximately an hour later, Xiao Yunduan announced his intention to depart, prompting the guests to take their leave in succession. The Mei family and the Hua family bid farewell to Xiao Yunduan and politely declined any further invitations. It was widely speculated that the Mei and Hua families harbored plans to surprise Lord Xiao in private. Despite any envy or curiosity stirred among the other guests, none dared to vie with these esteemed families. Upon entering his carriage, Xiao Yunduan found an unfamiliar pair of master and servant awaiting him. The maid in particular possessed striking features, a sharp, oval face and delicate contours illuminated by the dim night. Her fair complexion accentuated her beauty, but it was her captivating eyes that truly commanded attention, mesmerizing, alluring, and flirtatious. For a moment, Xiao Yunduan found himself momentarily taken aback, as if encountering this woman for the first time. The woman suppressed a coy laugh behind her hand before speaking timidly. "My lord, I am Lu Ji. I hold you in great admiration, and am willing to accompany and serve you. I offer myself as a humble servant and maid, with no regrets for the rest of my days. Please grant me this wish." Xiao Yunduan's expression darkened. Suddenly, it became clear why she seemed so familiar. "Get off here. Lord, don't make me say it a second time. Not everyone can board my carriage if they want to. Who asked you to come up? How dare you? Lord, you're wise. I definitely didn't mean to offend you. I just You have already offended me," Xiao Yunduan said coldly. "You came up without my permission. That is an offense. Buta if you refuse to disembark, shall I have someone assist you?" Xiao Yunduan's stern words jolted Lu Ji, leaving her no room for further argument. She timidly grasped the maid's hand and hastily exited the carriage. As Lu Ji vacated her seat, Xiao Yunduan cast a disapproving glance in her direction, his brow furrowing in displeasure. With a decisive pivot, he descended from the carriage and ordered Qing Yan to fetch a horse. Mounting swiftly, he rode off, trailed by Sun Bai and his retinue. Meanwhile, Qing Yan commandeered the vacated carriage, positioning himself at the edge with a disdainful snort aimed at Lu Ji, before instructing the coachman to proceed. Internally flustered, Lu Ji found herself at a loss for words, her thoughts swirling chaotically. The maid, bewildered by the unfolding events, voiced her confusion. "Miss, how could Lord Xiao treat you like this? You've done nothing but kindness." "Enough," Lu Ji interjected, her embarrassment threatening to overwhelm her. She turned away, seeking solace in the presence of Old Master Zhuang. Old Master Zhuang, too, appeared taken aback and apprehensive. Could this incident incur Lord Xiao's ire? Regardless of his concerns, his only course of action was to escort Lu Ji back promptly, and relay the events to the second Old Master of the Mei family with haste. Lu Ji's exceptional beauty made her a rare find indeed. Even with ample resources, Locating her wouldn't have been a simple task. Upon hearing the report, second Old Master Mei offered little response, allowing Old Master Zhuang to depart without much ado. However, once alone his countenance soured considerably. The discovery of this coveted beauty proved to be a disappointment to Euro. She seemed utterly ineffectual. Later that evening, the three brothers convened in the study, their minds burdened with worry. Third Old Master Mei was the first to voice his frustration. What is Lord Xiao's objective? If he shuns female company, does he not desire a spouse and heirs? Why shun the company of a suitable mate? What harm could it possibly bring? I find it utterly confounding. Chapter 1955. Fate. Second Old Master Mei let out a heavy sigh. Nothing is guaranteed. I had hoped that Lu Ji could sway him, or at least earn us a favorable mention. It would have saved us a lot of trouble. Euro sigh. The two brothers commiserated with each other, their minds burdened with concerns and uncertainties. It's just unfortunate that the gift didn't appeal to him. What more can be done? Lamented one. Old Master Mei listened intently before offering his perspective. Simply because he rejected Lu Ji doesn't mean he's averse to others. Xiao Yunduan is, first and foremost, a scholar, a formidable one at that. It's not uncommon for scholars to have reservations, particularly in matters of reputation and sensitivity. His rejection in public may be a reflection of such concerns. Third Old Master Mei chimed in, nodding in agreement. Indeed, scholars often conceal unsavory habits behind a facade of piety. It appears that Xiao Yunduan values his reputation greatly. Perhaps presenting him with a more discreet option would yield better results? Despite his doubts, Third Old Master Mei remained convinced of Lu Ji's irresistible allure. Surely, no man could resist such exquisite beauty. It would be a waste not to pursue her. Old Master Mei interjected, his tone firm. It's not prudent. Xiao Yunduan values his reputation highly. If he rejected Lu Ji, he may not accept her in private. We must explore other avenues to secure his favor. But where could I find another woman like Lu Ji? It doesn't have to be identical. Old Master Mei retorted disdainfully. Scholars are known to value serendipity. Our chance encounter is far more favorable than a direct presentation from others. Wouldn't you agree? The eyes of the other two Mei family elders gleamed with newfound hope. Elder brother, that's a brilliant notion. As Xiao Yunduan returned to his quarters in the backyard of the state office, he was greeted by Qiao Xian's welcoming smile. Caught off guard, Xiao Yunduan's gaze softened as he reached out to her. Why are you still awake? I was waiting for you. Qiao Xian replied, her smile unwavering. You smell of alcohol. Have you been indulging in drink all evening? Xiao Yunduan hesitated for a moment, feeling a pang of guilt at her inquiry. He was wary of the implications of the cosmetics scent on his clothing, fearing his wife's suspicions. With a forced smile he responded, No, I was simply enjoying the entertainment. I'm going to freshen up now. My wife is expecting me in our chamber. Though innocent in his actions, he recognized the potential for misunderstandings. It was better to swiftly dispel any doubts to maintain domestic harmony. Qiao Xian nodded understandingly. Go ahead. Xiao Yunduan planted a kiss on her cheek before grinning. Wait for me. With that he shuffled off. Qiao Xian wrinkled her nose and let out a small scoff. She had a keen sense of smell, easily detecting the lingering scent of cosmetics on her husband's clothes. Though somewhat awkward, she dismissed any lingering doubts. It was customary for such gatherings to feature dancers and courtesans, their presence accompanied by a cloud of perfume filling the air. However, Qiao Xian couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment. With her husband increasingly attending such events, her own happiness seemed destined to diminish. After a refreshing shower, Xiao Yunduan returned to their bedroom, feeling invigorated. Qiao Xian was lounging against the bed's headboard in her apricot-colored pajamas, her loose black hair cascading over her shoulders. The soft fabric draped loosely around her form, and in the gentle glow of the room, she exuded an air of delicate allure and languid charm. Chapter 1956. Is there a beauty? As the faint sound of footsteps approached, Qiao Xian glanced up and exchanged a smile with her husband. Xiao Yunduan's eyes brimmed with tenderness. Despite their years of marriage, Qiao Xian still managed to evoke a shy flutter in his heart. Her cheeks flushed, and she found herself unable to meet his gaze. "My dear wifey Euro," Xiao Yunduan's chuckle was soft as he enveloped her in his embrace, casting them both in gentle shadows. The scent of fresh water mingled with the familiar aroma of his presence, suffusing the air with a pleasant warmth. Xiao Xian's cheeks grew hot as she kissed him tenderly, her breath quickening with each passing moment. The familiar rush of desire left her feeling lightheaded. The room was steeped in an enchanting ambience, the air thick with anticipation. Eventually, as the tension ebbed away like dissipating clouds after a storm, they remained ensconced in each other's arms, reluctant to disrupt the tranquil atmosphere. After tidying up the room, Xiao Yunduan drew her close once more, his smile tinged with contentment as he whispered sweet nothings into her ear. Xiao Xian indulged in playful banter, running her fingers through his hair. With a mischievous half-smile, she teased, "Did you happen to encounter any captivating beauties at the banquet today?" The ambience was just right, the perfect moment for indulgence and affection. It was only fitting that he inquire. However, there was no way she could retire for the night with him. Otherwise, slumber might prove elusive. Xiao Yunduan gently tapped her nose, a knowing smile gracing his lips. He anticipated her question. "In truth," he began, "there were a few performers singing and dancing, their cacophony causing quite the headache. Whether they were exceptional or not mattered little to me. Their presence holds no significance." Xiao Xian chuckled, feeling reassured by his response. For women, a man's attitude mattered most, words reinforced by actions. "Indeed," she concurred, "those unruly individuals harbor ill intentions. My dear husband, steer clear of their company. Should anyone persist in associating with them despite the warnings, I'll not hesitate to assert my claim as a jealous wife." Xiao Yunduan gently kissed her, his voice tender. "Never. I couldn't bear it." They already had a son, with plans for more children in the future. If his wife were to be labeled as a jealous woman, their children could simply brush it off, joking that she was their daughter-in-law, and it wouldn't affect their son-in-law. Xiao Yunduan was thinking ahead, considering the long-term implications. If Xiao Xian had known his thoughts, she would have been torn between laughter and exasperation. But she didn't press further, content with his response. Never one to dwell on such matters, Xiao Xian shifted the conversation to their plans for admiring the Lantern Festival lights on the upcoming 15th day of the lunar month, before drifting off to sleep. It would be the first New Year celebration since the resolution of the bandit problem. Naturally, the Lantern Festival on the 15th day of the first lunar month promised to be lively. The local government had issued calls for merchants to prepare countless lanterns, ensuring a grand celebration. As the final festivity of the spring festival season, the Lantern Festival marked the beginning of warmer weather and the implementation of new plans for farmers and merchants alike. The bustling festivities of the Lantern Festival were a fitting conclusion to the joyous season of celebration. As the Lantern Festival approached, a multitude of lanterns adorned the backyard of the state government office. With dusk settling in, the lanterns were gradually illuminated one by one. Anan, curious and intrigued, reached out tentatively to touch them. Meanwhile, Xiao Xian had instructed the kitchen to prepare a generous assortment of glutinous rice balls, featuring fillings such as sesame sweet osmanthus, red bean paste, peanut, hawthorn, pork, fish, and zucchini euro, enough to satisfy the entire east yard. Additionally, she arranged for a plentiful supply to be distributed to the guards on duty at the office.